Preparations underway for parliamentary elections in Nepal. Stakeholders raise concerns over cost, security and electoral reforms. CPNUML reaffirms its readiness for elections, calls for fair, peaceful, fear-free polls. Security printing press in Nepal's Kaveri falls behind target. Only 9,000 driving licenses printed in 2 months. Anti-government protests grip Iran with reported deaths of at least 50 protesters. Khamenei insists the government will not back down. US President Trump urges oil companies to invest in Venezuela. Oil executives, however, express caution. And host Morocco enters the semi-finals of AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon. Good evening, I'm Smitugi Singh Tamang and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal is moving into a new phase of election preparations as political stakeholders, civil society and ordinary citizens express growing concern over the credibility, cost and overall management of the country's electoral process. As preparations intensify, discussions are increasingly focusing on how to ensure elections remain peaceful, inclusive and free. Election-related security continue to be key challenges, prompting calls for stronger cooperation among state agencies, political parties and oversight bodies. Speaking at a discussion titled Challenges, Opportunities and Reforms in the Electoral System, organized in Kathmandu by Democracy and Election Concern Nepal, former Chief Election Commissioner Neelkanta Uprethi said recurring security and management challenges during elections must be collectively addressed to ensure successful voting. Uprethi also expressed concern over Nepal's electoral process becoming increasingly expensive and competitive, calling for control of unnecessary expenditure and greater transparency. The program saw notable participation from Gen Z youth who raised issues related to youth participation in elections, the relevance and effectiveness of the pre-election silence period and the use of modern technology in the electoral process. Voters from Changru and Tinkur in Nepal's far western district of Darchula will cast their votes in Kalinga in the upcoming House of Representatives elections scheduled for March 5. Chief District Officer Anil Paudel said residents of both villages have temporarily migrated to Kalinga, prompting the concerned authorities to establish polling centers within the district headquarters for them. During winter, locals move to Kalinga to escape the extreme cold in Changru and Tinkur. They say they stay here for 6 months. In the local level elections held in 2079 Bikram Sambat, which is 2022, polling stations had been set up in Changru and Tinkur. In the 2022 local, province and HOR elections, there were 383 voters from Changru and 234 from Tinkur. For the upcoming HOR elections on March 5, a total of 112 polling stations and 143 polling centers have been set up across the district. For the upcoming election, 2,166 new voters have been added compared to the previous election. In 3 municipalities of Nepal's central eastern district of Dolkha, the number of voters is higher than the population recorded in the 2021 census. In the same district, it was found that the population of 3 municipalities is less than the number of people who have reached eligible age to vote. According to the census, Sailung Rural Municipality had a population of 17,896, while the number of voters reached 20,697. Similarly, Melung Rural Municipality had a population of 15,893. However, there were 19,187 registered voters. In Baiteshwar Rural Municipality, the population was also 17,896, whereas the number of voters was 18,423. Officials suggested that the higher number of voters compared to the population may be due to enumerators not counting accurately during the census or because the census was based on the place of residence. The election office of Dolkha says the number of voters, including those who will reach 20 years by March 4, 2026, stands at 170,321. The Communist Party of Nepal Unified Marxist-Leninist CPN-UML held its second meeting of its Central Committee today. The meeting reiterated its readiness for upcoming elections and stressed the need for a fair, peaceful and fear-free environment. The meeting is the second full gathering of the Central Committee elected from the party's 11th National General Congress. Party Chair KP Sharma Oli is addressing members on current political developments, the party's role in the elections, preparations for the general election and key organizational matters. Agenda items include amendments to the party's bylaws in line with the revised statute, review of income and expenditure from the National Congress and approval of decisions taken by recent secretariat meetings. Oli emphasized that the CPN-UML will participate in elections without hesitation and that the government must ensure an environment conducive to the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5. The Nepali Congress today endorsed a condolence motion on the demise of party leader and former minister Homnath Dahal. An emergency meeting of the party held at its central office Sanepa in Lalitpur today passed the proposal expressing deep sorrow over the passing of Dahal, also the chair of the Federation of Nepali Journalists FNJ. Nepali Congress officiating President Purna Bahadur Kharka presided over the meeting. The party also has decided to lower the party flag at half-mast at its central, provincial and district offices for 3 days, beginning today, close all its offices from the centre to districts tomorrow, place a condolence book until the 13th day of his death and hold a condolence assembly in Okhaldunga on the 13th day of his demise. Today's events under the Special General Convention of Nepali Congress were also postponed. Congress's second Special General Convention is being inaugurated tomorrow at Brikuti Mandap. Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP has begun an emergency meeting of its secretariat. Spokesperson Manish Jha informed that the emergency meeting with the party secretariat has begun virtually as per the instructions of the party president Rabi Lamichhane. According to him, issues related to party unity and integration are being discussed in the meeting to be held virtually. Party leader and former MP Ganesh Parajuli said that the issue of the suspension of the agreement for collaboration between the RSP and the Ujjalo Nepal Party will be discussed in today's meeting. Time for a short break now. We shall be back with more updates. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now, the remaining updates. Traffic Week and the 2082 Special Accident Prevention Campaign have kicked off in Kathmandu with a morning rally organized by the Kathmandu Valley Traffic Police Office. The rally, held under the slogan, "Identifying a Responsible Citizen and Reducing Road Accidents is Everyone's Responsibility," aimed to raise public awareness about traffic safety and reduce road accidents. Officials from the Traffic Police, Nepal Police, Armed Police Force, Nepal Army, Kathmandu Metropolitan Police and Lalitpur and Bhaktapur Municipal Police participated in the event along with representatives from other organizations. The security printing press in Nepal's central district in Kavre has printed only about 9,000 driving licenses in 2 months, despite being taxed by the government to produce 1.2 million licenses within 6 months. License printing had been halted after the Department of Transport Management's mass printer was damaged during the Janajati movement. Printing resumed on November 7, according to the centre. The country's Department of Transport Management reported that around 3 million licenses are still pending, including newly passed applicants and renewals. The centre, however, aims to print the remaining 1,191,000 smart cards within the next 2 months and plans to produce 10,000 smart licenses daily starting from mid-January. In addition to driving licenses, the centre is preparing to print postage stamps, citizenship certificates, internal revenue stickers, land documents and visa stickers. The facility was established 5 years ago using infrastructure originally built for an unused IT park. The construction of western section of Nepal's Pokhara-Moglin highway has been extended for the third time after the work was not completed within the scheduled time frame. The contractor has now been given additional time until mid-July next year to complete the construction of the 38.88-kilometer western section. Of the 12 bridges planned for the western section, 11 have already been constructed, and the project has reported 75% physical progress so far. Additionally, work has begun on road markings, thermoplastic paint and the installation of road safety barriers from Jamune. Once the paving is complete, locals and travelers who have long faced problems due to mud and dust are expected to have an easier journey. The 81-kilometer Pokhara-Moglin road expansion project has been initiated with a soft loan of 1.361 billion rupees from the Asian Development Bank (ADB). The Tharu New Year festival is in full swing across the Tarai regions of Nepal. From the bustling villages of western Nepal to the heart of Tharu homes, the air is alive with music, dance and festive delicacies as the community prepares for Maghi, known as New Year. Regina Rai, along with our local correspondent Naveen Nepali, brings more on this story.
In the villages of western Nepal, the air is filled with excitement as the Tharu community prepares for Maghi, known as their New Year. The festival marks the beginning of the Tharu Sambat 2649. From Baki, Kailali, Kanchanpur, Bardea and Dang, villages are alive with the sights and sounds of fairs, music and dance, signaling that the festive season has arrived. Courtyards are swept clean, new clothes are laid out, and ingredients for traditional dishes are carefully gathered. Thikri, khongi, fish, pork and homemade liquors are being prepared, filling homes with aromas of celebration. 15 days before the festival, the preparations already begin, reflecting the importance of the special time in the Tharu calendar. Villages echo with the rhythm of Maghota, Dammar and Magar songs, while folk dances bring the streets and community centers to life. These affairs are more than entertainment, food and festivities. They are a way for Tharu people to preserve and celebrate their unique culture, passing tradition from one generation to the next.
यो तरिकाले हामी खेती गरेर यस्तो गर्छौं हामी हाम्रो ढकिया पहिचान हो त्यो चीजहरु यस्तो यस्तो हुन्छ भनेर ती आउने पिढीहरुलाई देखाउनु पर्छ र सिकाउनु बनाउन लगाउनु पर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ है मलाई.
It is a time for reflection and planning. Families review the past year, organize household affairs and the community comes together to elect the village leader, Badghar Mahatwa, ensuring that traditions and governance go hand in hand. As the sun rises over the western Tarai, the celebration of Maghi paints a vivid picture of joy, culture and unity. A festival that is both a new year and a testament to the enduring spirit of the Tharu community. Tharu culture in Nepal is as significant as the rich, distinct heritage of Nepal's indigenous group, known for its deep connection to nature and vibrant festivals. They are considered one of Nepal's oldest ethnic groups, lived in the Tarai region over the centuries. Rosina Rai with local correspondent Naveen Nepali, Kohalpur, Nepal.
Time again for a short break. We shall be right back with updates from Global Arena. Hospitals in Tehran are struggling to cope with the surge of injuries as nationwide protests continue in Iran. Anti-government protests have taken place in dozens of cities, with two human rights groups reporting at least 50 protesters killed. Iran sent a letter to the UN Security Council blaming the United States for turning the protests into violent, subversive acts and widespread vandalism. International leaders called for the right to peaceful protests to be protected. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei insisted that the Islamic Republic will, what he said, not back down in the face of protesters in a speech broadcast on state TV. Khamenei also says US President Donald Trump's hands are stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians, in apparent reference to Israel's June war against the Islamic Republic, which the US supported and joined with strikes of its own. The Syrian army has announced it will suspend all military operations in Aleppo's Sheikh Maqsoud district and expel Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces SDF fighters to Tabqa, according to the state news agency. At least 180,000 people have fled fighting in the city's Ashrafiyeh and Sheikh Maqsoud neighborhoods since clashes resumed. The army reported that SDF fighters killed at least 3 Syrian soldiers, while the SDF accused government-aligned factions of artillery shelling that killed a 10-year-old girl in Deir Hafer, east of Aleppo. Since violence erupted on Tuesday, at least 22 people, including civilians, have been killed. US President Donald Trump has asked for at least $100 billion in oil industry spending for Venezuela, however received a lukewarm response of the White House as one executive warned the South American country was currently uninvestable. Trump has said he will unleash the South American nation's oil after US forces seized its leader Nicolas Maduro in a 3 January raid on its capital.
To spend, meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. I think you're going to make an investment, but you're going to get your money back very quickly, and that's part of our thing. We're going to have you get your money back fast, and then you'll give a lot to Venezuela and to the United States after that, okay? So
Bosses of the biggest US oil firms who attended the meeting, however, said significant changes would be needed to make the region an attractive investment. Venezuela is set to hold talks on Saturday with US envoys in Caracas on restoring diplomatic ties, days after US forces deposed Nicolas Maduro as its president. Venezuela said on Friday it had launched discussions with US diplomats in the capital, the latest sign of cooperation following the leftist leader's capture and US President Donald Trump's claim to be in charge of the South American country. As per the report, the government of interim President Delcy Rodriguez has decided to initiate an exploratory diplomatic process with the government of the United States of America aimed at re-establishing diplomatic missions in both countries. Venezuela said it would be reciprocating by sending a delegation to Washington. The EU has reached a free trade agreement with South American countries 25 years after talks began and despite opposition from farmers in several European countries. The deal with the Mercosur trading bloc, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay, will require the approval of the European Parliament within the next few months. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva hailed it as a historic day for multilateralism after the 4 South American countries put the final touches to the deal in Brussels. It comes against the backdrop of US President Donald Trump's tariffs on countries around the world and his recent military intervention in Venezuela. We're going for yet another short break here. More international news and sports update up next. Tens of thousands of visitors gathered on the frozen Hwacheon River this week for the annual Mountain Trout Fishing Festival, one of South Korea's most popular winter events. The festival, which has been held for over 3 decades, allows participants to fish through holes drilled into the ice. Organizers reported that this year's event attracted over 50,000 visitors in the first few days, including families, tourists and fishing enthusiasts from across the country. In addition to fishing, the festival features a range of winter activities including sledding, ice soccer and local food markets. Event organizers said the festival also boosts the local economy by supporting hotels, restaurants and transportation services. The Wachion Mountain Trout Festival runs through the end of January, drawing both domestic and international tourists to the Gangwon Province region each winter. Thousands of people from Benin and across the world converged on the coastal city of Idat this week for Vodun Days, a 3-day annual celebration highlighting the country's spiritual traditions and cultural heritage. The event, held each January, centers on Vodun, also known internationally as voodoo, an animist belief system rooted in the forces of nature, ancestral worship and community rituals. Festivities included traditional dances, drumming ceremonies, spiritual rites and public processions led by Vodun priests and practitioners. Beninese authorities promoted the celebrations as part of efforts to strengthen cultural tourism and reclaim Vodun's image, which has often been misrepresented abroad. Vodun was officially recognized as a religion in Benin in 1996, and Vodun Days has since grown into one of the country's most prominent cultural events, attracting visitors, researchers and members of the African diaspora. Acacia trees are currently in full bloom along the coastal roads of Vietnam, attracting significant numbers of visitors in the early days of the year. The drought-tolerant species grows with compact foliage, and during the flowering season, golden clusters emerge from each leaf axil. Acacia trees are not only a popular photo spot, but also play an important environmental role in coastal areas. They help stabilize sandy soils and protect the environment from erosion caused by the northeast monsoon. Officials said the acacia bloom is expected to last through Vietnam's Lunar New Year, offering a seasonal attraction for both domestic and international tourists. Now, the sports update. Host Morocco booked its place in the semi-finals of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon in Rabat. A goal in each half scored by Brahim Diaz and Ismail Saibari was enough to see off their opponents, who rarely threatened. Played in a febrile atmosphere reminiscent of those produced by North African fans of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, Walid Regragui's side never looked in any real danger during an ill-tempered encounter. Having now matched its historic run to the semi-finals in Qatar, Morocco is 2 wins away from claiming the country's first continental crown since 1976. Morocco is now unbeaten in 25 matches, a run stretching back to their last 16 exit at the 2022 edition of the finals, and are into the last 4 at an AFCON for the first time since 2004, when they went on to lose against Tunisia in the final. The Atlas Lions will have a huge home advantage again when it returns to the stadium on Wednesday to play the winners of Saturday's quarterfinal between Algeria and Nigeria. Qatari driver Nasser Al Attiyah secured victory in Stage 6 of the Dakar Rally on Friday, completing the 915-kilometer course and moving into the lead of the overall standings. The stage, one of the longest of this year's rally, tested drivers across challenging desert terrain, including dunes, rocky tracks and navigation-intensive sections. Al Attiyah's performance has strengthened his position in the hunt for another Dakar Rally title, adding to his previous victories in the event. Rivals continue to face difficult conditions with mechanical issues and navigation errors affecting several competitors. Race organizers reported that all drivers successfully completed the stage, though several sustained minor delays due to terrain challenges. Al-Attiyah now leads the general classification, with the remaining stages expected to be decisive in determining the overall winner of this year's rally. And before wrapping up, here's a look into the top stories once again. Preparations underway for parliamentary elections in Nepal. Stakeholders raise concerns over cost, security and electoral reforms. CP&UML reaffirms its readiness for elections, calls for peaceful, fear-free polls. Security printing press in Nepal's Kaveri falls behind target. Only 9,000 driving licenses printed in 2 months. Anti-government protests grip Iran with reported deaths of at least 50 protesters. Khamenei insists the government will not back down. US President Trump urges oil companies to invest in Venezuela. Oil executives, however, expressed caution. And host Morocco enters the semi-finals of AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon. That's all for the moment. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website www.nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smitugi Singh Thamang. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal.
Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Nepal has numerous places and monuments of historical, archaeological, religious, cultural, and natural significance. Among them, one is Bodhanath Stupa that lies in the northeast of Kathmandu. This world-famous stupa is the property of ancient arts and culture. It is also the property of Buddhist civilization. This region, spread in about 7,630 square meter area, is about 7 kilometers far from Kathmandu Darbar Square. It is about 100 feet in radius and has a height of about 141.8 feet. Its date of construction is not yet exactly ascertained. However, some theories based on some myths, chronology, and some written scriptures of Guru Padmasambhava are popular. The stupa, which is the largest stupa in the world, is believed to be constructed with the remains of Kashyapa Buddha in it. This stupa, also considered as the symbol of Trikal Buddha's heart, harbors thousands of devotees and visitors every day. Furthermore, with the enlistment of the stupa in the UNESCO's World Heritage List, its fame has skyrocketed. Despite the fact that majority of residents around the stupa are from Tamang community, there are also people from other communities like Newar, Sherpa, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Tibetans, and so on. This very feature symbolizes unity and diversity. The history of Bodhanath Stupa. The history of its construction is still mysterious. However, different myths, chronicles regarding its establishment are popular. As per the scripture of Guru Padmasambhava, Bodhanath is called Jarong Khashor in Tibetan language. According to a myth, an angel named Purnima Gangchungma was born in earth as a punishment for stealing flower in heaven. She was born in a place in Nepal as Jajima, a daughter of poultry farmer. Later, when she grew up, she got married to a horse trader. After the birth of a son, the horse trader died. She then got married to a pig trader. After the birth of a son, the pig trader too died. Then after, she married a dog trader. He too died after the birth of a son. Finally, she got married to a poultry farmer. He too died after the birth of a son. The mother of 4 sons then got involved in poultry farm and amassed a bigger fortune. After her sons got married, she still had a bigger chunk of wealth, and she decided to devote herself in religious rites. Then a thought of establishing a stupa was emerged in her mind. She then pleaded the king to allot some land to make the stupa. The king responded to her demand positively. However, a widow willing to perform a larger kind of pious work was intolerable to the wealthy people of that community. They then went to the king, pleading him to stop the project. Since the king had already promised her, he denied going as per their request. Due to this reason, the word Khashor was added to the name, which means slipped promise. And finally, it became Jarong Khashor. In Tibetan language, Ja means a year of the bird. The construction was said to be initiated and ended in the same year of bird after 12 years. So it is believed to be called Jarong Khashor. Jajima died 4 years after the start of the project. Then her 4 sons continued the project. Due to their pious work, those 4 sons are reincarnated as Holy King Trisong Duchen, great Buddhist preacher Shanta Rakshit, Guru Padmasambhava, and religious minister Bami Thiser in Tibet, and had worked for the establishment of Buddhism according to a myth. According to a belief, Bodhanath Stupa was constructed in around 5th century. It is said that this stupa was discovered in the era of Lichavi king Shivadev. Some Buddhists believe that, like Swayambhunath, Bodhanath was also self-created. According to a chronicle written by Daniel Wright, the stupa was constructed by King Manadeva I, which was started in 464 AD and completed in 505 AD. It was later destroyed by Mughal king and later reconstructed. It is coated with thousands of grams of gold. Water is filled in the stupa's pond in every 12 years. And in every 12 years, there's a carnival to observe the Bodhanath pond. During the carnival, thousands of Buddhist devotees, either local or foreign, visit the spot to see the pond and take the water out from the pond. It is believed that whosoever sees the pond and drink water from it will have his or her illness remedied, and healthy people will gain immunity to fight against the diseases. A Chinese Lama is appointed by the Guti Sansthan that belongs to the government of Nepal, whereas the Ministry of Culture and Tourism has established Bodhanath Area Development Committee that looks after Bodhanath and performs all the necessary renovations of the stupa. This stupa is based on the practice of Mahayana Buddhism. It is also taken as the symbol of Chintamani. As per the Buddhist model of construction, bricks, mud, stones, wood, copper and gold were used to construct the stupa. It has 5 layers of construction, which are considered as the 5 elements of nature that are needed for the creation. The upper portion of the stupa from the ground level is considered as the earth. The core above it is considered water. 13 Bhuvan symbolizes fire, Chhatravali symbolizes air, and the topmost dome indicates the sky. There's a ring road that encircles the stupa. Buddhists encircle the shrine chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. It is believed that chanting the mantra will free oneself from all miseries and will finally achieve salvations from the heaven, hell, earth, and other places. There are 6 such places in total according to Buddhism. Different statues of Bodhisattva are placed in different parts of the stupa. Mantras are written in each statue. There are 108 different parts in the stupa, and a statue of different gods and goddesses rests in each part. There are 108 total statues placed on those parts. Its dome is considered as the symbol of the universe. The 2 eyes in each direction is called Harmika. Harmika indicates the 4 noble truths and 8 rightfold paths. These peaceful and thoughtful eyes also symbolize knowledge and measures to rid from evil. It is believed that the gaze of the eyes will rid oneself from sex, anger, greed, attachment, jealousy, gluttony, and pain, and will take the mind to bliss, non-violence, and positivity. The question mark-like symbol below the eyes symbolizes nirvana, and the dot symbolizes wisdom. There are 13 more stories above the Harmika. These 13 stories indicate the 13 places after life that Bodhisattva crosses. After the 13th story lies a gold-plated copper lotus. The flower symbolizes softness, purity, kindness. Then after lies Chhatravalis, which is considered as the protector of the stupa. The top part of the stupa is considered as the symbol of Sumeru mountain, which indicates greatness. It is believed that after reaching the peak, one is supposed to attain nirvana, shunyata. Buddhist devotees pray to the shrine, seeking welfare not just for themselves but for the entire living creatures. Nepal signed the World Heritage Conservation Treaty to renovate of different cultural and religious heritages with the aid of UNESCO in 1978. By 1979, 7 places inside the Kathmandu Valley were listed in the World Heritage List. One of those 7 heritages is Bodhanath. Different festivals and jatras are celebrated in Bodhanath every year. Among them, one is Mamla Jatra. It is also called Azim Jatra. There is no authentic documentation regarding the origin of this jatra, yet oral tradition says it had begun in the 8th century after Guru Rinpoche Azim was established as the protector of this area.
यो जात्रा चाहिँ विशेष गरेर ममको स्मरणमा ममको सम्झनामा मनाउने गरिन्छ।
Likewise, a day before Chaitra Purnima, Temal Jatra is observed. This Jatra is celebrated especially by Tamang community. During this Jatra, Tamangs from Kathmandu and neighboring districts visit the place and ignite lights in the loving memory of their deceased relatives. There's a tradition of giving alms and donations after the completion of puja. They also sing Tamang Selo and dance with the song. Vaisakh Purnima celebrates Buddha Jayanti. This is the day on which Lord Buddha was born, got enlightenment, and received Mahaparinirvana. There is a special puja on this day for the same reason. In the like manner, people perform plantation of paddy as the festival during the month of July-August. This Jatra is a part and parcel of Buddhist identity. People light lights in the memory of their deceased relatives on this Jatra as well. On Mangsir and Paush, October, November and December, January, people celebrate the Dasami Cheju Puja related to Guru Rinpoche. Losar, which is New Year, is also celebrated in a grand way. Special carnival is observed here during Sonam Losar. Similarly, after death of a Buddhist in the area, the deceased body is taken around the mortal remains is taken around the shrine and then cremated. It is believed that taking the body around the shrine will free the deceased person from all the worldly and afterlife sufferings. These festivals and celebrations are no doubt a continuation of Buddhist culture, but are equally useful in preserving the Buddhist culture as well as for the promotion of tourism. This World Heritage Site has religious, historical and cultural significance. It is our responsibility to promote this holy place as a beautiful tourist destination for the visitors from all over the world and work for the preservation of it as well.
At every bend of the serpentine Bheri River, a new face of nature emerges. Each turn revealing a beauty so varied and mesmerizing that it moves the heart moment by moment. Traveling from Chinchu of Surkhet through Jare and Mehelkuna toward Gurbakot, the Bheri displays its quiet miracles. Over its crystal blue flow drifts the rustle and chirping of dozens of birds. The whisper of nearby trees merges with the vast blue sky, reflecting a harmony of natural splendor. Cutting through Chinchu, heading along the proud and scenic terrain of Gurbakot, our thoughts find themselves racing steadily along the Madan Bhandari highway toward Lake Besi in Surkhet. Our destination, the Raute settlement. We seek to observe closely the lifestyle of this indigenous group, long perceived as distant. We hope to feel a sense of closeness with a community rarely encountered, where the Rauti, in their most authentic form, stand before us to share their stories. The Rauti have cultivated a unique identity as Nepal's nomadic ethnic group. If someone in their settlement dies, they immediately abandon that location and do not return for 10 years, a tradition that makes permanent settlement extremely challenging. Their temporary homes are built by fixing wooden stakes into the ground, tying cross pieces, and covering the structure with old cloth and tarpaulin.
सधैँभरि यो पुर्खा मेरो पुर्खौली त्यस्तो छ त्यस्तो नभइदिए भए एक ठाउँमा बस्ने थियो एक ठाउँमा नभए यो हजुरलाई हल्दुवार यो घर बनाउँछौँ त्यस्तो घर हामी मन पर्दैन मेरो मन परेको यही यस्तै चिरपाल तागा तागाको राम्रो हुन्छ हामीले यस्तै मन परेको छ यही गाडो लगाएर राम्रो मान्छौँ अब पहिले हेर्न जानु पर्यो पहिला
जान्छ त्यो हेर्न तपाई आफै
यो हामी आफू त जाँदैन केटाउडु जान्छ त केटाउडु गएर फेरि हेरेर ठाउँ राम्रो छ कि नराम्रो छ कि भनेर ठाउँ यो जहाँ ठाउँ राम्रो भयो त्यही जाने यस्तै पाखामा को बस्न सक्छ र यस्तै समूह जग्गा चाहियो.
Especially during winter, protecting themselves from the cold becomes difficult. They sleep on the bare ground with only thin tarpaulins, not enough clothing to cover their bodies fully. Men wear a loincloth and wrap their backs with coarse cloth, knotted in front and falling to the thighs, with a cap or a small turban on their heads. Women wear a short, patterned skirt of rough fabric and a handmade blouse that covers only part of the torso and chest. Women adorn themselves with earrings, necklaces and bracelets made of iron, brass and aluminum. When we visited in late Kartik, the cold had already set in, yet the rowdy sat on the ground as usual. Even when ill, they rely solely on their chieftain, traditional healing practices and herbal remedies. The rowdy tell that the community consists of 3 clans, Katyal, Raskoti and Samalvanshi Shahi. According to the national census of 2021, rowdy population stands at 566. It was 618 in the 2011 census.
बात यो कोही मान्छे यो पहिला पहिला त आया थिएन अब आजभोलि त यो सामान पनि आउँछ भट्टा पनि लाग्यो हो कि होइन सामान पनि आउँछ यो तिरपाल पनि आउँछ ब्ल्याङ्केट आउँछ खाना पुग्यो त भइयो अब भोकै मरेको छैन के अरे बाहिरबाट आए भने कामधारी त गर्नु पर्यो हो कि होइन त्यो काम कुसी बनाउनु पर्यो मधुस बनाउनु पर्यो खाद बनाउनु पर्छ अब दराजहरू हामी बनाउँदैन हजुर.
Traditionally, the Rauti have lived in the forests, ravines and riverbanks of districts like Dailek, Jajarkot, Surkhet, Acham, Salyan, Dang and Kalikot. They dwell in the wilderness, hunt monkeys and carve wooden utensils which they exchange for grain in nearby villages. It's a cycle that sustains their livelihood. The Rauti have distinct marriage customs. After marriage, a separate area is set aside for the couple. According to Rauti belief, a widow should not remarry after her husband's death. Marriages occur strictly within their own community between Rauti youths. Apart from cooking pots at home, an axe for cutting trees, and a chisel-like tool for shaping wood, the Rauti do not store belongings. Men prefer to hunt monkeys using traps, while women gather wild roots and tubers. With just an axe and chisel, they craft wooden utensils. Once, the Rauti believed touching money would bring misfortune. They also avoided speaking with outsiders. But today, they readily ask anyone for money an indicator of the slow transformation in their lifestyle and consumption habits.
मेरो नाम फुलमाया
कति वर्षको भयो
म 18 भयो
अनि स्कुल जाँदैन
स्कुल त जान थियो पहिला त जान दिएन आज बोले पनि स्कुल जान दिन्न
कसले
मुखियाले
किन नि
मुखियाले नि पढ्न लेख्न दिन्न त
किन होला त त्यस्तो
खै के पो होला नि मुखियाले दिन्न नि पढ्न जान त मन त लाग्छ तर पढ्न दिन्न.
In recent years, increasing dependence on alcohol has begun to create serious health issues within the community.
कहीं न कहीं यो यहाँ जंगल में बसने बाजार हेर्न जाने भरु चिस्टोडा आडा माइने मान्छेमा कसैले बजारको नासै हुन्छ त्यो नास हेर्न जाने कसैले यो मौसुक लाग्छ चिस्टो मौसुक यो जंगलबाट मौसुक हेरे पनि झन् आउन मान्छु यो मेरो परिवर्तन नगर्ने मान्छे परिवर्तन गरेको कहिले पनि राम्रो भन्दैन हामी मेरो पुर्खैबाट यो परिवर्तन नगरेको मान्छ परिवर्तन गरेको यो पैसा चाहिँ आँखाले पैसा चिनेता भइहाल्यो.
Nepal's constitution not only recognizes the equal existence, rights and dignity of all ethnic groups, but also ensures fair protection, upliftment, empowerment and development of marginalized and endangered communities. The state has pledged equal distribution of economic, social and cultural opportunities with special provisions for the protection and advancement of disadvantaged people within minority groups. Although the federal and provincial governments have introduced various programs for the Raute community in recent years, the lives of the Raute have yet to see the meaningful improvement envisioned.
Hello there, welcome to Geopod. South Asia is home to a fifth of humanity, yet remains one of the least integrated regions in the world. For 4 decades, SAARC has carried the promise of cooperation, dialogue and shared progress, but also the weight of political divisions and unanswered expectations. In this maiden episode of Geopod on NTV World, we look at SAARC's journey, its challenges and the road ahead, especially as it marks the 40 years since the adoption of the SAARC Charter. And for that, we speak directly with the individual entrusted with keeping that promise alive, His Excellency Mohammad Ghulam Sarwar, the Secretary General of SAARC. Your Excellency, welcome to Geopod.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this interview in the Nepal television. I
Also thank the Nepal television for inviting me to exchange some thoughts on the occasion of this 40th anniversary of SAARC Charter.
A little over 2 years that you have took on the helm, right? How closely does Kathmandu, like you discovered, matches the Kathmandu you expected?
If you ask me about the expectation from the SAARC point of view, I am not fully pessimistic. I am quite optimistic in the sense that I have discovered, I must say that I have discovered, because most of us are really ignorant about what actually SAARC had so much made progress in the last 40 years, and what are the promises that we had made, by our leaders 40 years ago. So SAARC has really have a very strong foundation. In last 40 years, SAARC has made a very deep-rooted presence in the whole region through various declarations, various agreements and various MOU, which are very much important to realize the charter objective of SAARC. So I just want to name few of those, like agreements on the South Asian Free Trade Area, SAFTA, then the SAARC Preferential Trade Arrangement, SAFTA, SAARC Food Security Reserve, Mutual Administrative Assistance on Customs Matter, Avoidance of Double Taxation, Mutual Administrative Assistance on Tax Matters, Establishment of SAARC Food Bank, Agreement on the Trade Services, Establishment of SAARC Seed Bank, Mutual Agreement on the Recognition of the Conformity Assessment, Rapid Response to the Natural Disaster, Framework Agreement on Energy Cooperation. These are very important, as you would agree with me. And then moreover, we also had a lot of memorandum and convention, like declaration also on the protocol on the field of terrorism, drug control, child welfare, environment, natural disaster, criminal matters, trafficking of women and children, and above all the SAARC Charter. So we have so many important instruments in place in the SAARC process, which were very important for the success of SAARC. So that's why I am really optimistic that still we have, based on this foundation, we can build and go ahead. We must be quite happy that we have been able to come to understanding among all countries on a consensus basis on all these instruments that we have. So the shortcomings or the frustration, if you say, that we could have achieved much more than what we have now. That is, in short, I can tell you.
Right. I mean, a part of SAARC's mandate, certainly, it was built on a foundational optimism, which is so very reflective on what you've just shared, and even the spirit that you carry so far, right? Cooperation free from bilateral tensions, I believe, also was one of the mandates that were to be included. But reality has often been, more complicated than what was envisioned back then, 40 years ago. So in this context, Your Excellency, the Charter envisioned cooperation almost unburdened by bilateral disputes. Yet, geopolitical tensions have very visibly constrained SAARC's collective potential. Do you think the Charter still reflects the region's political and economic realities, or is it time to reimagine SAARC's foundational assumption?
Thank you. This is a very important question I face everywhere, and this is a difficult question to answer also, because actually over last 2 years I have given a lot of thoughts about this issue, that is this charter self-contained or it needs some kind of new reflections to be put into. I actually found that this charter had been drafted very well. I mean, given all the geopolitical reality and the reality on the ground in our region, I think this has been there cannot be any better say foundational instrument in South Asia. Now the point is whether we are following in true sense the commitments and the desires that we have made 40 years ago. That is a question you can always ask anyone, in the SAARC or in the region. But as far as the charter is concerned, I think, yes, there is always room for improvement with the change of times. We can bring some new elements in the, say, our terms of reference, and how we can achieve the chartered goal. That can be also looked at. But I don't see much problem with the charter. It's the issue of our commitment. I think we have to have more commitment to the charter.
Right, and this brings me, to the most persistent and very defining bilateral dynamism in this region, right? In every SAARC conversation, Your Excellency, India-Pakistan tensions are the silent elephant in the room, right? So, as a Secretary General of this entity, how do you engineer institutional momentum in a space where political constants routinely overshadow regional consensus?
No, thank you. Actually, I after my took over, I have been to all the countries of the region, except Afghanistan, of course, due to the situation there, I could not go. But in each and every individual countries, the leadership and the civil society, the high officials I met, I received the similar kind of commitment to the SAARC process, and similar kind of expectation they are still holding. I'm sure it will, the good time will come. Although, as you say, have raised about the tension between two member countries, I think besides all these bilateral issues, we can still go ahead. It is up to our leadership to decide when to go ahead. They will definitely, they are also quite, I must say that, quite competent in their position, having a lot of experience, and they know when to give us a signal to go ahead. So I'm still very much optimistic, because the amount of resilience and the goodwill that I have seen in each and every member countries, I don't see any reason to be frustrated on this. Only thing is, this is a temporary phenomena we are passing through. We have to have little patience to come out of this situation.
If you could shed light, is SAARC structurally dependent on political harmony, or rather than designed to manage conflict?
No, rather I should say that it is designed, it is also, there is inbuilt design in the SAARC Charter to manage the conflict. Like if we have, say, bilateral differences between two countries, they may not be able to sit bilaterally. But there is a scope under the SAARC to sit regularly, to discuss in the sideline about the contentious bilateral issues and come to a common ground. I think SAARC is offering excellent forum for even discuss about the difficult bilateral issues and come to a conclusion.
And beyond internal dynamics, because we've come to a point of time where everything is affecting everything elsewhere, right? So beyond these internal dynamics of the region itself, Your Excellency, the regional equation is also shaped by major external powers, right? So with let me be very specific, with China expanding influence through the BRI project, and infrastructure diplomacy and emerging security ties with several South Asian countries, how does SAARC assert its own regional agenda?
I think there is no problem to see more regional and sub-regional cooperation to say take shape, because in the SAARC Charter, rather the sub-regional cooperation involving two or more member countries have been actually encouraged in the SAARC Charter. That's why I am saying that this charter was very much visionary. They have considered all the aspects, what it can happen after 40 years, after 50 years. So it was well designed, and in the charter it is encouraged by the member states to form the sub-regional cooperation among the member states, or with two or more member states. In that case, they can also sometimes consider the extended neighbors in that forum. There is no harm for that. So this this can be complementary to each other. Yeah, I don't see there is any challenge in this. Rather, if we can work in a harmony with other regional and sub-regional organizations, we can make faster development in the SAARC region.
So could you shed a little more light on how SAARC can maintain its central role at a time when external actors, or in your very own terminology, extended actors are increasingly shaping, South Asia's strategic choices? How does SAARC maintain its central role?
Now, I think if we are united in our commitment that we have made 40 years ago, I don't think there any kind of say global situation, of course, will affect all countries. There is no denial of the fact that because we are so interconnected now globally to each other. So anything happen to our extended neighborhood or even beyond the region will directly or indirectly affect us. So having said that, I think if we are fully aware of the potentials that we have within the region, and if we sincerely work to get the benefit out of those, I think SAARC is still the best answer.
Now let's turn to the economic front, Your Excellency, an area or a domain where the region holds great promises because it's one of the most rapidly rising regions in the world. Yet the delivery has been far below the potential. Intra-SAARC trade, if you look at the figures, well below 6%, which is again one of the lowest in the entire world. What structural or political barriers are creating or holding SAARC back?
You are absolutely right that the intra-regional trade in SAARC is really quite low, which is between 5 and 6%, and the potential, as you have said, is tremendous. Currently, the intra-regional trade between SAARC is around 20 odd billion, around 23 billion or so. But according to a World Bank estimate, if we can remove only few small barriers in the SAARC process, it can grow to almost 67%. Not 67, 67 billion, from 23 billion to 67 billion in 5 years. That means it will be almost tripled. So there, I think, if we keep aside all the, say, contentious issues and go ahead and give importance to the trade, I think that would be the best way to go ahead.
With the world reorganizing the supply chains, Your Excellency, can SAARC seize the opportunity to becoming a competitive regional hub? What are the prospect areas that you see?
Yes, those global scenarios, especially in the trade regime, is, I think, indirectly bringing an opportunity for our SAARC region to think about the trade within the region. So since we are facing challenge of having trade with the West due to the new tariff rules, especially in the United States, I think it is a time for us to rethink and also redesign our plan in the SAARC and increase the SAARC intra-SAARC trade. I think this can be taken as an opportunity. What we are seeing in the other region, like in our extended neighbor, the ASEAN is doing that way, and they are trying to utilize their strength within the region, and China is also trying to have strengthen their trade partnership with the ASEAN and others. I think this is also big opportunity for us for increasing the intra-regional trade and the trade with the eastern our eastern neighbors like the ASEAN, China, Japan, Korea, all those countries.
Mm-hmm. Let's now switch to an issue where borders do not matter. Look at our region; it is ground zero for climate vulnerability. Why hasn't the shared climate challenge translated into shared climate strategy under the SAARC banner?
No, actually, I would like to add something here with your comment. SAARC is, I think, the climate change took a center stage in the SAARC process. Our leaders in 2010 in the Thimphu summit, we have adopted the Thimphu Statement of Climate Change, where we have laid out our plan how to deal with this climate challenges together as a region, because it is sometimes only the regional effect. Initiative may not be enough sometimes, because as you said that it doesn't have any border. We have to have greater cooperation in the international level. That's why I have mentioned earlier that are we actually working together as we have envisioned in our charter, that the strengthening cooperation among the member states in the international forums on the matter of common interest. So this is a matter of common interest. I think time has come for the SARC to sit again and also draw a common strategy how we will negotiate our position in the COP and other climate related forum. First we have to consolidate our strategy within ourselves, which we are doing actually through the Thimphu Statement of Climate Change. The SARC Secretariat had arranged in last 2 years several capacity building and also initiatives, and then those are the enhance the capacity of SARC member states, assess the viability of institutions of SARC climate fund, and also frame a regional response to the transboundary air pollution. So we are working at the expert level to draw a plan for the region, so that in course of time it can be voiced in the international forum like COPs and other climate related initiatives.
Mm-hmm. So directly or indirectly related with climate change or the vulnerability that this phenomena brings around is migration. And I think this is one of the major, they say it cuts both ways, but many see it as a major issue facing the South Asian region. That's migration, right? So millions of South Asians are at the moment migrating within and beyond the region. Demographic shifts are really reshaping economies and societies inside South Asia already, having a lot of repercussions and long-term effects. Could SARC envision a framework, Your Excellency, for safe, legal and mutually beneficial mobility?
Yes, actually in the recent initiatives of SARC, I think leaders have also discussed about the safe and orderly migration, which is of course regarding the migration of the SARC member countries nationals to the outside world. So there is scope for further cooperation in this. But if you talk about the intra-regional migration, I don't know exactly what is the number. I don't think it is too big, and those are quite temporary because of some situations arises in some of the countries for political reason or something. Sometimes people go and they come back again to their home. So those are not very permanent kind of thing, what I believe. But if we look holistically about the global migration scenario, I think South Asia still have a lot of potentials, and I think South Asia is the largest region in terms of the global migration, because we contribute to almost maybe half of the global migration by the South Asian population in the Middle East, even in the Western countries. In Malaysia and Singapore and all other countries.
So do you mean migration is not one among the major issues that should be troubling the region at the moment?
No, if we talk about the outward migration outside the region, I think there is a lot of potentials still there, and if we work together to draw a common plan for the South Asians to protect our migrants who are going to work abroad, that would be then it will strengthen our position in the receiving countries, because we know that in some of the receiving countries our people are not getting their rights properly. So if we can work together, I think we can have a very strong policy as a regional policy through which we can negotiate with the receiving countries where our people are going in large number and working, and sometimes they are not getting enough. They are rights and the support that they desire for.
So is SAARC even thinking about incorporating, in pursuing any sort of efforts to this effect?
Yes, it is very much there in the SAARC agenda.
Okay. So let me move on to your own institutional sphere, Your Excellency. Critics of, let me quote them, often say that the Secretariat lacks teeth, meaning, you have to function under limited resources, limited autonomy, and limited mandate. That's what the critics have been on and off saying, right? So what reforms do you believe are essential for the SAARC to deliver real impact in the next decade?
You see, reform is always an ongoing process. So SAARC Secretariat has also made a lot of, very strong contribution in the SAARC's 40 years of journey. So since we are not actually having the higher level meetings like summit, Council of Ministers, so this interim period, it is always difficult to keep the professionalism among the staffs. So we are quite mindful about it, and from the Secretariat we are trying to keep our, especially from my position, I'm trying to keep my colleagues engaged with the international or other international forums, so that our professional competency doesn't get affected due to the lack of higher level interactions or higher level meetings.
So as you said, SAARC summits have remained stalled for many years now, and that is the prime and the core concern for the region and even the institution itself. So do you see or foresee a political opening for their revival?
As I said initially, as a diplomat, I'm always optimistic, and diplomacy and dialogue is the best way to resolve any stalemate in any situation. So I am fully optimistic, and there is nothing called the last word in politics. So I'm sure things will get momentum. Maybe we have to have some more passions.
At the moment, as we are holding this conversation, Your Excellency, we cannot do away without talking the shift that the region is at the moment seeing, some unprecedented episodes. Just a quick recall across Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, recently we witnessed a generational jolt, right? Youth-led mobilizations which strongly demanded accountability, transparency, and a dismantling of the entrenched political cultures, quote unquote. Do you see this generational awakening, as they call it, Gen Z awakening, as a disruptive force, or do you see it as a democratic correction?
I see in both ways. I think we, in the SAARC, we have given enough importance to the youth, children and the women. So if we continue to follow up with those initiatives that we have taken under the SAARC umbrella, I can assure you that things will get much better. Here, if you say Gen Z or the youth movement, whatever name you call it, actually there is a big generational shift we have seen because of the technological advancement and the free flow of information. So the new generation now, they are quite informed now. Sometimes they are, it can be positively informed or negatively informed because of some media and social media's intervention. It cuts sometimes both ways. So if we have free and open dialogue with the new generations, and as we continue it on a regular basis, I think because their concern needs to be seen and also addressed. That's what they want. So if we take initiative beforehand, so the cost of this kind of movements will come much less, or this kind of movement will not happen even.
And this generation that we are talking of, this is not only loud on the streets, right? It's loud online. And the digital landscape, certainly we need to admit, that has turned South Asia's youth into a hyper-connected, political force. Movements now cross borders, through narratives, through shares, through statements, and through solidarity. So how does institutions like SARC, engage with a generation that organizes in real time and demands results with urgency?
Yes, we actually, from the SARC, especially from the SARC Secretariat, we always wait for the guidance and from our leaders. So I definitely expect that our leaders will meet and also draw a common plan for the SARC region, how to deal with this and how to secure the future of the next generation. Actually, by securing their future, we are securing our future also, because our future will be on their hand. They will take our place very soon. So if we look into it in a very positive framework and continuously engaged and see what are their concerns, and if we try to address those, I think we can create a much better situation.
And this brings us to a point, or to the idea of imagining SARC, not of the past, but of the future, Your Excellency. If you were to design SARC 2.0, right, that speaks directly to South Asia's Gen Z, what would be the core pillars of this reimagined institution?
We have to assure our new generation a better future. Not only assurance, we have to deliver it in reality. So in order to do that, I'm sure our leadership are constantly working on this. Definitely we will see much better South Asia in the coming days.
That's great optimism, and we really look forward to that, Your Excellency. So finally, let's leave our viewers with a very forward-looking vision from your leadership. If you could articulate a bold, future-facing vision for SARC at its 50 years milestone, about 10 years from now, one that transcends the political hesitation and reflects the aspirations of 1.8 billion people living here, what would it be?
Okay. Actually, it's 10 years down the line. 10 years is quite a long time. I don't expect that situation will remain same in 10 years. There will be a lot of changes, and change for good. Definitely, I'm quite optimistic, quite sure about it. So in 10 years, there will be at least 3 Secretary General after me on the SARC. So I'm sure they will also have the opportunity to work for the SARC 2.0, as you have just mentioned. There I will give special focus on the trade. If we can materialize the SAFTA in its true spirit, I think the situation, especially the economic situation, will in the region will take a dramatic shift, as I said, from 23 billion to 67 billion in only 5 years. Maybe in 10 years we can reach to 100 billion marks. So when the economic situation changes, so automatically you will see the effect in the society, and you will see a whole new South Asia after 10 years.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for taking out the time to come over and share with us your very valued insights and thoughts.
Thank you so much for inviting me and also share my thoughts.
Right. Reaping from the conversation we just had, SARC stands at a crossroads, torn between conflict and cooperation, yet still holding the possibility of unity, standing strong on the foundations of optimism. Today's conversation very well reflects that regional peace and prosperity depend not only on governments, but on vision, dialogue, and commitment. Therefore, the future of South Asia remains a story still being written. That's it from Geopod this time. Until next time, bye.
In the high mountains, where the air thins and silence deepens, an ancient discipline endures. More than art, this is meditation in motion. A prayer woven into canvas, finding the divine within. This is Thangka.
Thangka भने चाहिँ त्यो समतल भूमि भने हो के हैन त्यो स्पेस भने हो त्यो रेसेमा पनि तपाईले सेतो गणमा स्पेस देख्यो नि हैन हो त्यसमा चाहिँ का लेख्ने भने चाहिँ बुद्धको वचन लेख्ने भने हो के त्यो बुद्धको वचन बागल चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ शुद्ध छ हैन राम्रो छ त्यसले चाहिँ मानव जीवनलाई चाहिँ कल्याण मानव जीवनलाई मात्र नभएर प्राणी जगतलाई नै चाहिँ कल्याण गर्ने चिज हो थाङ्गा त्यही भएर चाहिँ जीवन जिउनेसँग चाहिँ रिलेटेड छ भनेर भने हो त्यो चाहिँ पञ्चतत्त्वको रूपमा चाहिँ त्यो चिनाएर त्यो तत्त्वलाई त्यो ठाउँमा जानुपर्छ भनेरको यो त आशयको रूपमा चाहिँ लगेको हुन्छ
Thangka painting is more than art. It's devotion on canvas, rooted in Buddha philosophy, traditions, and shaped by centuries of Buddhist influence. Each stroke tells a story of enlightenment.
This is not from painter's own mind. This is from the book. So painters, they have to strictly follow the rules. Through meditation, we can understand our true nature. And when we understand our true nature, we understand everybody. And our true nature is compassion. Our true nature is wisdom. And when we practice these things, we find peace, and that peace is permanent.
Thangka painting is not merely creation. It is consecration, rooted in Buddhist philosophy and perfected through centuries. Each brushstroke carries the weight of a mantra. Each color a fragment of enlightenment.
खाइबो भन्छ हामीले चाहिँ आर्टिस्टलाई त्यो खाइबाले चाहिँ किन आएर चाहिँ ढोग्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ तीनजोडी ढोग्यो नि त्यो शरण गमन गरे हो के म बुद्धको शरणमा छु भन्ने हो त्यो चाहिँ बुद्ध चित्त उत्पाद गर्ने भन्छ के चित्त तपाईको शुद्ध हुनु पर्यो हैन त्यो शुद्ध भएर लेखेको थाङ्गाले चाहिँ अरूलाई पनि राम्रो गर्ने पनि पै प्राणी हितको लागि चाहिँ यो मैले गरेको लेखेको बुद्ध वचनले चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ राम्रो होस् भन्ने आशाका साथ चाहिँ छोड्नु पर्छ कि हो यसरी चाहिँ लेखेको हुन्छ थाङ्गा चाहिँ
The Thangka is a visual sculpture, a spiritual map to transcendence. Every artist begins not with imagination, but with surrender to discipline, devotion, and compassion for all living beings. To paint is to meditate. To complete is to awaken. In today's studios, the old and the new converge. Tutors like Sushan Subedi introduce curious travelers to ancient grammar of lines and color.
All of the painting you are seeing over here, so these are known as Thangka, which is a Tibetan word which means the painting that is painted on a cotton surface. Okay, so first of all what we do is, we just take a normal cotton like this and we stretch it on a wooden frame very hardly and very tightly. Okay, so while tying it very hard on a normal cotton, what happens is there are some millions of tiny holes. So if you pour the color can bleed. So we cannot do the painting on a normal cotton. So we have a process, we call it the process of canvas.
While at nearby workshops, artists like Sonam still lose themselves in the ritual of creation.
यो चाहिँ बम्बई ड्याङ कटन जुन यसैबाट चाहिँ हाम्रो ट्रेडिसनल आर्टको चाहिँ थाङ्का फर्स्ट प्रोसेसिङ चाहिँ यहीँबाट हुन्छ सरेस भन्ने गरिन्छ हामीले यो चाहिँ खासमा र याक स्किन भनेर चाहिँ प्रयोग गरिन्छ पहिलेको त्यो हिस्ट्री हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अनि अब यो चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ माध्यम चाहिँ यो ग्लुको काम गर्छ यसले चाहिँ यो र हामीले चाहिँ माटो मिसाएर चाहिँ यसमा पानी लगाएर अब यसको कति मात्रा उ गरेर तताइसकेपछि चाहिँ अनि अब हामीले कत्रो क्यानभस बनाउने कतिवटा बनाउने त्यो हिसाबले हामीले यो सरेस माटो भनिन्छ त्यो मात्रा मिलाएर हामीले प्रोसेसिङमा जानु सकिन्छ। हामीले चाहिँ यो क्यानभस बनाउँदाखेरि समयअनुसार मौसमअनुसारले पनि बनाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ। घाम लाग्ने बेलामा बनाउनु सक्यो भने हामीले छिटो आफ्नो कामहरू छिटो छरिदो बनाउन सकिन्छ र झरी पर्ने बेलामा चाहिँ हामीलाई निकै समय लाग्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो घाम लाग्ने बेलामा हामीले बनाउनु सक्यौँ भने छिटो अनि यसलाई आफूलाई चाहिने मात्रामा पटक पटक यता दुई साइडमा चाहिँ क्लिन गर्नु सफा गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ अनि कतिको मात्रा हामीलाई चाहिन्छ त्यो पुगिसकेपछि हामीले त्यसपछि स्केचमा जानुपर्ने हुन्छ। यो सुकिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा यसरी पनि हामीले चेक गर्न सकिन्छ हामीले कतिको तयारी भयो भएन। यो आवाज आउनुपर्ने हुन्छ जस्तै अब ओसिएको छ भने बेग्लै आवाज आउँछ, सुकेको छ भने राम्रो आवाज आउँछ। यो
Thangka painting begins with the canvas stretched tight, once upon wood, now upon iron frames. The glue that seals it, once drawn from the yak, now sourced from the maple or synthesized in a lab. Yet in the scent of drying paste, the artist still reads the readiness of the soul of the painting.
So after the sketching is done, second thing we do is the coloring. So while coloring, we have different levels of artists in our school. Like from the beginner level, we have intermediate and the master level of artists. So if you go with the beginner intermediate, they use the acrylic colors. But if you go with the master level of artists, so they use the stone colors like this. Okay, so why they use the stone color is stone being a natural color. So while we apply this sort of color in the art, it remains for the longer period of time because natural thing, it doesn't have expiry date. Yeah, so the meaning and the philosophy of an art, the art itself, it is preserved for the longer period of time. So that's why they use the stone. And for the finishing of an art, so we use 24 karat real gold on the painting. Okay, so why we use the gold is not to make the painting very expensive, but if you see in Hinduism, in Buddhism, gold it is signified as in purity. So to purify the meaning and the philosophy behind the art, so we use 24 karat real gold.
Every line follows a rule, every proportion holds meaning. The face of the deity isn't imagined, it slowly reveals itself, guided by sacred patterns that keep harmony between the world outside and the spirit within. The colors come from the earth, crushed stones and minerals mixed with glue, made to last for generations. Lapis brings purity, malachite speaks of compassion, and cinnabar carries wisdom. These are just colors, they are prayers in pigment.
प्राचीन कालमा चाहिँ यो थाङ्का चाहिँ पाँचवटा कलर लेख्ने हो। पाँच कलर जस्तो अग्नि तत्त्व, वायु तत्त्व, माटो तत्त्व, हावा तत्त्व, पाँच तत्त्वले बनाएको हो। त्यो पाँच तत्त्वले किन बनाएको भने त्यो पाँच तत्त्वबाट हाम्रो शरीर बनाएको छ नि। यो थाङ्का भनेको चाहिँ वास्तवमा के हो भने जे जति थाङ्कामा छ त्यो हामीसँगै छ, जे हामीसँग त्यो थाङ्कामै छ। त्यसकारण त्यो बेला चाहिँ त्यो नेचुरल, हाम्रो पनि नेचुरली बनाएको हो नि त, प्राकृतिकले बनाएको नि, थाङ्का पनि प्रकृति नै हो। त्यसमा अलिक अहिले चाहिँ कलर के छ भने पाँचवटा कलरमा हामीले मिसाउँदाखेरि अर्को कलर बन्छ। त्यो पाँचवटा कलर मात्रै पुग्दैन। त्यो बेला त्यो रियालिटी थाङ्काबाट नजिक बसेर साधना गर्दा हामीलाई त्यो भाइब्रेसन आउँछ, पोजिटिभ कुरा आउँछ। यो त खालि बुद्ध जुन बुद्धले टिकाको टिचिङ गर्नुभएको नेचुरल फेनोमेना छ नि, नेचर माइन्ड छ नि, त्योसँग रिलेटेड छ यो।
Home Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thanka artist from the spiritual heart of Bodha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
थाङ्का चाहिँ मैले 1976 मा सुरुवात गरेको मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो साइला दाइ मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो पाटन भक्तपुर छामेल दरबार स्क्वायरमा यसै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो अनि त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्का चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thanka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दो रहेछ त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो एउटा मात्रै थियो अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्का चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरि कुनै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Bodha, Home Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle, and success.
म आफै पनि रामछाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ रोजगार छैन त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन कलेज छैन हस्पिटल छैन रोजगार छैन त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर दाल भात खाएको अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ दिउँसो काम छैन त्यस कारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ उहाँको स्किल अन्त टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यहीँ तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हो त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा मैले पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेछ अहिले
For 49 years, he painted, taught, and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यू लिन्छु त्यसपछि एक हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि एक हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ म सक्दैन ढाड दुख्यो किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो त्यो सक्दैन ऊ आउँदैन एक दिन पनि आउँदैन मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो त्यस्तै हो
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो नेपालमा जति छन् विश्व सम्पदामा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौँ लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो त उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान यहाँ चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलिटिक यहाँ छ जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यतिकै थाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले जस्तो मेरै कुरा मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति थाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्म थिएन विदेशहरूले जानेकै थिएन उनीहरूले त्यो सुरसुर आउँदाखेरि सानो तिनी एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मान्दै लाइन्थ्यो अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका युरोप तपाईको यो सिङ्गापुर ताइवान मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ त्यसकारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ यसको मार्केट छ
As an artist, entrepreneur, and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others, and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ त्यो त निश्चित हो नि एउटै निश्चित छैन कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन त त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढ्यो ठुलो गाडी त्यस्तो होइन तर मलाई खुसी छ सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ यही थाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो युरोप गयो चाइना घुम्यो बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसाको आपत पनि परेन थाङ्गा सँगसँगै लान्दै ब्रिफिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो त्यसकारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि
Then comes the awakening, the eyes. Until that moment, the thanga is silent. When the artist paints the peoples, the deity is invited to reside within. The canvas breathes, the prayer begins. From quiet Himalayan ateliers to the galleries in Tokyo, Berlin, and New York, thangas now travel far beyond the monasteries. They adorn homes, museums, and collectors' walls, a global symbol of Nepal's artistic devotion.
Mostly, Thanga word itself is a Tibetan word, so this tradition belongs to Tibetan people. This tradition belongs to Tamang. This tradition belongs to Newar community. Although they have different expression of color, technique, the detail, but this tradition, this culture belongs to this three community, and this is kind of passed on tradition. They learn this skill from their forefather to the new generation. This is how this tradition has been continuing and preserving. So it is beneficial for them to live their life, and it is beneficial for the country because this is a culture, and culture and tradition is the treasure of each country.
The trade sustains thousands. From the hum of Bodha's alleys to export crates bound for distant lands, Thanga has become a vital thread in Nepal's creative economy. Yet, as markets grow, so does the tension between faith and fame, between meditation and merchandise.
कला चाहिँ दुवै राम्रै हो हैन आफ्नो आफ्नै फिलोसफी भन्ने हो यसले चाहिँ तपाईको मन भित्रको डेप्थमा जाने सिकाउने हो यसमा चाहिँ यो चाहिँ मिहिन काम हुन्छ कठिन पनि हुन्छ के किनभने यसमा चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ अघिको जस्तो धेरै चीजहरु चाहिँ लिनुपर्छ अनुशासन लिनु पर्यो हैन यसको विधि विधानमा बसेर गर्नुपर्छ यसमा चाहिँ अब त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको मनमा जुन फिलिङ्स आउँछ त्यो लेखिहाल्ने हो के त्यो गर्दाखेरि त्यसले पनि वर्ल्डमा चलिरहेछ। यसले चाहिँ नेपालले किन त्यो अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ कम्पिटिसन गर्न सक्छ भने चाहिँ यो चिज चाहिँ अरूले गर्न सक्दैन, किनभने त्यसमा मेडिटेसन ध्यान जस्तै गर्नुपर्छ कि सरकारी स्कुलबाट चाहिँ स्कुलिङदेखि नै गर्नुपर्छ, यसको पाठ्यक्रमहरू बनाउनु पर्छ होइन। एउटा त्यो गरिसकेपछि यसको प्रमोट हुन्छ होइन। हामीलाई चाहिने त त्यो प्रवर्धन हो नि, तर ब्याङ्किङहरूले पनि के गर्नु पऱ्यो भने यसलाई चाहिँ बिना दिदोमा पनि के अरे ऋण दिने वातावरण होइन, कलाकारको के छुट्याएर कि। अनि तपाईँको हामीले ट्याक्स तिर्नुपर्छ, ट्याक्स तिर्दाखेरि पनि कुनै एउटा चिज चाहिँ कलाकारलाई कुन ओदामा राखेर त्यसको एउटा ब्यालेन्स एउटा गरेर सरकारले गरिदियो भने यसको झन् अझ फ्रस्टिन्छ कि। फ्रस्टिएपछि त यो नेपालकै लागि चाहिँ यसले चाहिँ पर्यटनलाई पनि विकास हुने, अनि त्यो स्कुल कलेजमा भयो भने पुस्ता हस्तान्तरण चाहिँ एकदम दिगो हुन्छ कि।
All the Thanka has same meaning of peace. So foreigner, they admire philosophy. Practitioner also, they choose deities mostly to practice, to visualize, and they imagine the quality of deities with themselves. And some least person, they want it as a souvenir to decorate for the positive vibe. Some they buy it for the gift for their loved one. Philosophy reminds us about the beautiful quality, and that quality gives us peace, and that peace is everyone searching for. So Thanka painting is very, very important for everyone because it is relevant with our life. If it is relevant with our life, that is truth.
But beyond commerce and canvas, a Thanka is still a mirror, reflecting a way of life where art and spirit breathe as one. Every brush that moves today carries the echo of generations, an unbroken whisper from monastery walls to the modern world. As the sun sets over the Himalayas, somewhere an artist bows before a finished Thanka. His work is now complete, his prayer released. For in every stroke lies a journey from pigment to prayer, from devotion to eternity. This is not just Nepal's art, it is Nepal's soul, painted into time.
What if I told you a story of a place shrouded in mystery and steeped in stones? A place where warriors were born and raised, and their path through the mountains still remain to this day. Ajirkot Gorkha, the unbeaten kingdom.
हामी पाहुनाहरू आउनु हुँदाखेरि हामी यसरी स्वागत गर्छौं अनि अलि नाचगानहरू देखाउँछौं। गर्व लाग्छ जन्मिएछु साथै स्वर्गमा म त नेपालकी छोरी भन्छन् गोर्खाली।
घाटु चुड्काहरू भन्ने चाहिँ विशेष गरी हुन्छ यहाँ।
For those seeking a luxurious escape, there are stunning lodges that offer an indulgent retreat amidst the rugged beauty of this place. But for the true adventurers, this place has it all, from trekking through dense forest of Nagapokari trails to exploring ancient temples and learning the rich history of the region. So, what do you fancy? Are you the solo explorer, or do you prefer luxury within nature? Or perhaps you are the one who seeks to witness it all. Well, after all, life is a box of chocolates, and this place is filled with surprises. Welcome to the place where magic and reality intertwine, where the wonders of nature are both breathtaking and awe-inspiring. From the elevations of 300 meters to a towering 8,000 meters, this place will leave you mesmerized and in awe.
Music, dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
Welcome to the Hinterland. This weekly show weaves together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the hearts of Nepal's rural landscapes. It's a country alive with stories, laughter, ideas, and everyday magic. I am Rosina Rai, and will be leading you into this journey every week. This new episode of the Hinterlands begins in the Tarai region of Nepal, where an intense drop in temperatures has been severely affecting daily life. The prolonged cold, compounded by thick smoke and sunless sky for nearly a month, has had a significant impact on the region. The major effects of this cold spell are examined in detail in this story. The southern district in the Tarai plains of Nepal are grappling with an intense cold wave. Temperatures have plummeted to a yearly low of 11 to 12 degrees Celsius, affecting elderly, street dwellers, daily wage workers, and school students. While the temperature reading does not tell excessive cold, the thick smoke accompanied by bone-chilling mist makes the sun invisible for days. The hospitals in the plains are overwhelmed with the patients with cold-related complaints. District including Bara, Parsa, Siraha, Saptari, and the surrounding areas areas are the hardest hit. Typically occurring between mid-December and February, the cold spell has arrived with particular intensity, causing daily life to grind to a near halt. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, minimum records have hovered around 11 degrees Celsius, while daytime highs barely reached 12 degrees Celsius. Health officials in Madhya province have reported a worrying rise in respiratory and heart-related illness.
प्रेसरको बिरामीहरूलाई मस्तिष्कघात र हृदयघात यो दुईटा कुरा पनि एकदम धेरै बढेछ। अस्ति म ओपीडीमा बस्दाखेरि बिहानदेखि नै 3टा हार्ट अट्याक र 2टा स्ट्रोकको पेशेन्ट आउनुभयो।
At the provincial hospital in Kalaiya, around 70 patients with cold-related ailments visit daily. The most vulnerable homeless individuals, daily wage workers, students, and the elderly have borne the brunt of the cold. In response, all 16 local levels in southern Bara have closed schools and distributed firewood, with the relief efforts still underway. Daily life has been severely disrupted as market activities have slowed. Residents are venturing out only when necessary, and dense fog has reduced road visibility, causing traffic disruptions. Air travel has also been affected, with flights from Simra Airport to Kathmandu repeatedly delayed over the past 2 weeks due to low visibility. As the Tarai braces for continued cold and fog, authorities and communities alike are struggling to keep vulnerable populations safe and ensure that essential services continue despite the harsh winter conditions. What if your daily outdoor activities were threatened by stray dogs and wild animals and the constant fear of rabies infections? People in Nepal's Sudur Paschim province are forced to live with this fear every day. In this second report, we bring you the story of rapidly increasing rabies cases posing a growing public health threat. Sudur Paschim province in Nepal is facing a growing public health crisis as rabies infections among humans and animals rise sharply. The disease, primarily spread through bites from stray dogs and wild animals, has become a major concern across the province. Legal protections for wild animals are considered a key reason for their increasing presence near human settlements, which has led to a rise in animal bite incidents and heightened risk to human life. Tragically, the disease has already claimed several lives, including a recent case of a 70-year-old woman, highlighting the escalating threat. According to the Provincial Health Directorate, 10,500 people were bitten by dogs and wild animals in the just the first 5 months of the current fiscal year, compared to 14,800 cases reported in the entire previous year. Kailali, one of the province's major districts, alone has recorded over 4,000 hospitals visit due to animal bites.
संवेदनशीलता कम गर्नका लागि जो साबुन पानीले तुरुन्तै हैन धारा पानीमा लगेर घाउ जहाँ भएको छ त्यसलाई सफा गर्ने र जतिसक्दो चाहिँ त्यो धारामा बगाइरहने घाउलाई, जसले गर्दा चाहिँ भाइरसको संख्या कम हुन सक्छ र भाइरस चाहिँ इन्ट्री हुन दिँदैन। यो चाहिँ के हो भने तुरुन्तै गरिहाल्नु पर्ने, त्यो घाउलाई पनि तुरुन्तै पट्टीले बान्ने भन्दा पनि त्यसलाई सफा गरिसकेपछि अनि पल्ल चाहिँ एन्टिसेप्टिक लगाएर अनि चाहिँ त्यसलाई घाउलाई चाहिँ
The Animal Disease Investigation Laboratory in Thangari reported 136 confirmed rabies cases out of 170 samples tested last fiscal year. Additionally, 18 animals have died of rabies in just the past month. Veterinarian emphasized that rabies is nearly always fatal but entirely preventable if a post-bite care is administered immediately. In light of the rising number of fatal cases, doctors and animal health experts urge residents to report any animal showing abnormal behavior, aggressive biting, or excessive salivation. Health authorities also stressed the importance of regular vaccination of domestic animals, monitoring stray dogs and wild animals, expanding vaccination programs for free-roaming dogs, and raising public awareness. Once, sugarcane farming was a primary cash crop and a major source of livelihoods for many farmers in Nepal's southern district of Kapilvastu. However, the sector has been facing a systematic crisis for several years. Recent government data shows a consistent decline in both the area under sugarcane cultivation and overall production. Let's see the reality. Recent government data shows a consistent decline in sugarcane cultivation area production in Nepal, with farmers shifting to other crops. Sugarcane production fell from over 3.4 million tons in the fiscal year 2019-20 to around 3.1 million tons in 2023-24. In terms of cultivation area shrinkage from 2020 to 2024, it is over 6,340 hectares. Meanwhile, the number of farmers engaged in sugarcane cultivation has decreased by 20% over the last 5 years. The plight of sugarcane farmers is largely attributed to low minimum support prices, government inaction, and delayed payments, which have forced many to switch to more profitable crops. The effects are particularly evident in the Tarai region's Kapilvastu district, once a major sugarcane production area. For farmers, cultivating sugarcane has become increasingly unsustainable as recovering production cost has grown challenging. Sugar industries are also affected, leading to only about 9 mills currently running out of more than a dozen. Mills that previously operated continuously for up to 5 months during peak season now run for only 2 and 3 months due to sugarcane shortages. Farmers in Kapilvastu report that Mahalakshmi Sugar Mill, the district's sole mill, still owes nearly 20 million rupees, approximately $138,787 for sugarcane they supplied before it shut down. Local sugarcane farmers recall selling sugarcane worth hundreds of thousands to the mill a decade ago and are still waiting to receive the payment. With no nearby mills and limited irrigation facilities, many farmers are now compelled to sell sugarcane to jaggery processors at a meager price of around $2 per quintal, much below the government-determined prices. Unpaid dues from both sugar mills and the government have made it increasingly difficult for the farmers to sustain their livelihoods, prompting many to consider alternative professions. Frustrated and desperate, they have waged rounds of protest, even walking always to federal capital Kathmandu, but their issues remains as it is. Time for now Nepal's government new initiation. With the beginning of the new year 2026, the government of Nepal has fully implemented the digital customs valuation database system nationwide. The new system is designed to use a database of actual transactions values, replacing the old reference value mechanism. The system officially replaced the reference price book on January 2nd. Details are here. The government of Nepal has introduced the custom valuation database system across all customs offices nationwide, officially replacing the old reference price book system as of 2nd January. This new system is being implemented as a pilot project for the import and exports of goods, offering a modern alternative to the traditional reference price list. The online valuation database serves as a risk assessment tool, helping customs authorities verify the accuracy of declared values for imported goods. Despite this, many customs points across the country continue to rely on the older reference price list, raising concerns among industrialists and business persons, particularly regarding goods imported through trading companies. In response, the Department of Customs temporarily suspended the use of previous reference price list at the Viratnagar Customs Office following request from the business community. Experts note that market fluctuations naturally affect the price of goods over time, and reliance on outdated reference prices can be problematic. Industrialists emphasize the online database system is highly scientific and argue that valuation should reflect the prices prevailing at the time of actual purchase.
विराटनगर भन्सार कार्यालयमा इम्पोर्ट हुने गुड्समा लमसम 98% गुड्समा चाहिँ कुनै डिस्प्युट हुँदैन. 98% गुड्स चाहिँ जे भ्यालु डिक्लेयर भएको हुन्छ त्यही डिक्लेरेसन गरेकै भ्यालुको आधारमा चाहिँ क्लियर भइरहेको हुन्छ. 2% गुड्समा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने कतिपय अवस्थामा इन्स्पेक्सन गर्ने क्रममा कस्टम अफिसरले चाहिँ त्यहाँनिर केही क्याफियत छ कि भन्ने कुराको जाँच गर्नुहुन्छ. त्यो जाँच गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यहाँ यदि भरपर्दो डकुमेन्टेसन अनि के छ भने भ्यालुएसन गर्ने जुन आधारका लागि चाहिने डकुमेन्ट्सहरू छ त्यो डकुमेन्ट्सहरूको चाहिँ नभेटेको खण्डमा त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामी के गर्छौँ भने अब हामीसँग भएका अनलाइन डेटाबेसलाई अनलाइन डेटाबेसलाई चाहिँ रेफरेन्सको रूपमा लिन्छौँ, आधार लिन्छौँ.
Rather than using invoices up to 90 days old, additionally experts have warned that the old reference price system, which was updated only twice a year, created opportunities for manipulation by traders and customs officials seeking to influence high custom duties. Ancient inscriptions in Nepal are invaluable historical records, most of them dating back to the Lichavi period between the 5th and 9th centuries. In this report, we highlight a conservation effort in northern Bading that focuses on preserving ancient scripts, notably Ranjana and Sampurna, an initiative that has received wide acclaim. Without further delay, let's dive into this remarkable story of heritage preservation. Locals of Dhading, northern district of Nepal, making a joint effort to protect and preserve ancient inscriptions written in the Ranjana and Sampurna scripts. Dozens of stone-carved inscriptions were discovered at a site known as Kuri, along with several ancient Buddhist texts. Ranjana script is an ancient, visually rich script originating in Nepal around the 11th century, primarily used by the Newar people for Sanskrit and Nepal Bhasha. Associated to the Lichavi period, these inscriptions are regarded as a vital part of Nepal's rich cultural and linguistic heritage. The discovery was made in an area inhabited primarily by the Tamang community, who have taken the initiative to safeguard these historical records for future generations. The inscriptions have now been carefully painted in attractive colors and securely mounted on walls to ensure their preservation. Experts have emphasized the historical importance of the Ranjana and Sampurna scripts, noting that they date back to nearly 2 centuries. As the inscriptions were found within the Tamang community, locals speculate that the stone carvings may contain tantric mantras believed to represent divine spiritual energy. To support long-term conservation, the local government and other authorities concerned have joined hands with the community.
एकदमै पुरानो यो उहिलेको किम्वदन्ती अनुसार चाहिँ यो भूतप्रेत धपाउने र यो चाहिँ एकदम पुरानो के अरे ऐतिहासिक स्थल भएको हुनाले यो यसलाई पर्यटकीय दृष्टिकोणले र धार्मिक दृष्टिकोणले दुवै विषयमा उपयुक्त भएको हुनाले हामीले चाहिँ स्थानीय स्तरबाट पालिकाले र यहाँको स्थानीय के अरे नागरिकहरूले संरक्षण गर्दै आएको छ.
Many of the inscriptions were left in a dilapidated state following Nepal's devastating 2015 earthquake. However, since last year, villagers have been collecting the artifacts and initiating systematic preservation efforts. Locals hope these initiatives will not only protect their heritage but also help promote tourism in the region. In previous episodes of The Hinterlands, we have highlighted Nepal's marginalized indigenous Chepang community on several occasions. Today, we turn our focuses to another minority group, the Raji community, who have traditionally lived a nomadic life along riverbanks. This is the story of the Raji community and their long-lost, deeply rooted identity. Over time, the Raji community, once closely connected to the forest, has witnessed profound changes in their daily lives. With a population of just 5,125, the Raji are among Nepal's most endangered indigenous ethnic groups. Traditionally, they were nomadic hunter-gatherers, primarily residing in the western districts, Surkhet, Bardia, Kailali and Kanchanpur. Renowned for their skill and resilience, the Raji have long survived by harvesting honey from sear cliffs, fishing and crafting wooden boats. These traditional occupations were not only vital for survival, but also formed the backbone of their cultural identity, passed down through generations. However, modernity has gradually eroded these traditions. Nomadic lifestyles have given way to settled living, with communities adopting modern farming, wage labor and service sector work.
त्यो नभयो भने गिटार र त्यो कुनै पनि हामीहरू पकाएर खान्थ्यौँ.
While permanent settlement has brought short-term benefits such as improved access to education, healthcare and social services, it has also introduced economic hardship. Many Raju children still miss out on schooling, and sustaining families through ancestral skills has become increasingly difficult as forests shrink and traditional tools lost their utility. Conservation policies and the expansion of community forests have further declined the Raju's traditional survival identity. The government provides social security allowances to support this endangered group, yet challenges in education, employment, and cultural preservation persist. Many members of the community express dissatisfaction with these incompleted transitions, feeling a loss of cultural continuity as their nomadic way of life fades into memory. Despite these challenges, the Raju remain rich in language, culture, and costumes. Their most significant festival, Gurua Puja, continues to draw participants from neighboring communities, fostering social harmony. Protecting the language, culture, and identity of the Raju has become a shared responsibility, requiring active support from both the state and broader Nepali society. Yet, the reality remains. The tales of the Raju's rooted nomadic existence now survive largely in memory.
Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we will be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. This is Rosina Rai. Goodbye for now.
Kathmandu has long been known as a place where natural beauty, history, culture, and spirituality come together in remarkable harmony. Rising above the western side of the valley stands Swambhunath, one of Nepal's most revered and ancient sites. Many simply call it Swambhu. For countless generations, it has been a sanctuary of spiritual devotion, a place where the first light of morning touches the prayer flags and where monks and devotees begin their day in meditation and worship. Swambhu is cherished by Buddhists from all over the world, yet it holds equal significance for many Hindus. This shared reverence creates a rare sense of unity within its sacred grounds. The origins of Swambhunath stretch back at least 2.5 millennia. Inscriptions and centuries-old statues found throughout the site testify to its long-standing presence and its profound cultural importance. The stupa itself is one of Nepal's traditional religious landmarks, crowned by the serene eyes of the Buddha, that gaze out across all four directions. These eyes are regarded as a message of compassion, awareness, and peace for all beings. For Buddhists, the stupa and its symbols become a guide toward understanding the teachings of the Buddha. For Hindu visitors, the temples and images of deities within the complex hold deep spiritual meaning of their own. In 1989, Swayambhunath was formally recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, an honor that elevated Nepal's cultural identity on the global stage and helped protect this extraordinary place for future generations. The surroundings of Swayambhu offer many places of interest. Pilgrims and travelers often find themselves captivated by the calm atmosphere and the panoramic views over the Kathmandu Valley. The architecture of the complex reflects a graceful blend of Nepali and Tibetan influences. The stupa follows ancient Nepali design traditions, while the monasteries and retreat houses that surround it reflect elements of Tibetan craftsmanship. These two styles together give Swayambhunath a distinctive character found nowhere else. Preserving Swayambhu is not only a religious responsibility, it is an effort guided equally by historical and cultural commitment. The temples, statues, and inscriptions within the complex carry stories that span centuries. The main stupa, crowned by the four compassionate eyes, remains the heart of the site. Monks gather each day to meditate and study. Within these halls, elaborate paintings and sacred sculptures portray episodes from the life of the Buddha and remind visitors of the spiritual traditions that continue to flourish here. The entrance to Swayambhunath features a gate designed to convey purity and reverence. Sculptures and painted figures on the gate reveal the guiding ideals of Buddhist philosophy. Scattered around the grounds are ancient inscriptions that preserve the history of the land. Statues of various Buddhas stand alongside images of Parvati and Shiva, creating a space where cultural diversity and shared devotion coexist with harmony. Swayambhunath is one of Nepal's most visited destinations. Its landscapes, spiritual gravity, and cultural richness draw people from around the world. Each year, millions of visitors, both local and international, climb the steps leading toward the stupa. Their presence contributes greatly to Nepal's tourism economy and to the livelihoods of those who live and work nearby. Quake of 2015 brought significant destruction to Swayambhunath. Several structures collapsed and many priceless sculptures were damaged. The impact on the site's cultural heritage was deeply felt throughout the country. Yet, the response to this tragedy revealed the strength of the community. Local residents, government agencies, cultural experts, monks, and international organizations came together to restore the complex. The rebuilding process became more than a physical reconstruction. It became a spiritual effort guided by devotion and the hope of preserving peace and compassion for future generations. Today, visitors find improved pathways, restored shrines, and safe spaces from which to explore the site. Nearby, guest houses and small hotels offer comfortable places to stay for those who wish to spend more time experiencing the surroundings. For many, Swayambhu is not only a religious landmark but a symbol of introspection and inner calm. The peaceful environment encourages reflection. The sacred presence of the stupa gives visitors a sense of quiet strength. The eyes of the Buddha seem to guide those who come seeking balance, clarity, or a moment of stillness. As the sun rises, its light glimmers on the golden pinnacle of the stupa. And as the night falls, the view of Kathmandu from this hilltop feels almost otherworldly, as though the city below is touched by a gentle glow. Swayambhunath continues to stand as a reminder of the spiritual harmony that has shaped Nepal for centuries. It invites every visitor to pause, to breathe, and to discover a deeper part of themselves.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. And I am Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories sapping headlines around the world, from unprecedented geopolitical upheavals and mass protests to extreme weather across continents and remarkable cultural milestones. Let's begin with the dramatic developments in Venezuela and their global ramifications. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has pleaded not guilty to narcotics charges after a U.S. military operation in Caracas resulted in his capture and later transported to New York. Maduro is accused of overseeing a cocaine trafficking network with international drug cartels and faces 4 criminal counts. While in Caracas, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has been sworn in as interim president amid continued political turmoil and international debate over the legality and consequences of the U.S. operation.
Nicolas Maduro pleaded not guilty to narcotics charges after U.S. President Donald Trump's stunning capture of him rattled world leaders. Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, also pleaded not guilty during the dramatic 40-minute arraignment. The next court date was set for March 17. The 67-year-old and his wife were transferred to a New York jail after they were arrested by U.S. forces at their compound in Venezuela as part of a surprise overnight operation that also saw strikes on military bases. Maduro is accused of overseeing a cocaine trafficking network with international drug cartels and faces 4 criminal counts: narco-terrorism, cocaine importation conspiracy, and possession of machine guns and destructive devices. He has long denied the allegations, saying they were a mask for imperialist designs on Venezuela's rich oil reserves. The capture, carried out in a surprise operation involving strikes and U.S. special forces around Caracas on 3rd of January, has triggered intense political turmoil in Venezuela, global debate over legality and sovereignty, and a leadership transition in Caracas. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as interim president under constitutional provisions, pledging to maintain continuity and navigate the crisis, even as international reactions remain sharply divided and calls for respect for international law mount. The appointment came just 2 days after Maduro's removal, as lawmakers moved to stabilize the country amid a growing political and humanitarian crisis. Venezuela's interim president, Rodriguez, has said her country is not subjugated, despite Trump's claim to be in charge after removing her predecessor, Maduro. Her comments contradicted earlier remarks by Trump, who said Rodriguez had been sworn in as president and was willing to do what they think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Trump also said the U.S. would be running Venezuela.
Don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge.
The latest political upheaval also marks a new and uncertain chapter in Venezuelan politics, with questions remaining about the country's governance, economic stability, and international relations.
Leaders around the world have responded with a mix of condemnation and support to the U.S. capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. UN Chief Guterres says he is deeply alarmed by the U.S. military strikes in Venezuela and warned it could set a dangerous precedent under the international law. The U.S. operation has drawn widespread international attention, with UN ambassadors and foreign governments expressing concern over the legality and potential consequences of Maduro's capture. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged the international community to respect the political independence of states following the recent U.S. operation in Venezuela that led to the capture of President Maduro. Speaking at the UN Security Council, Under Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo read a statement on behalf of Guterres, emphasizing that the UN calls for the respect of states' political independence and sovereignty in response to actions that could escalate tensions.
In situations as confused as complex as the one we now face, it is important to stick to principles. Respect for the UN Charter and all other applicable legal frameworks to safeguard peace and security. Respect for the principles of sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity of states. The prohibition of the threat or use of force. The power of the law must prevail. International law contains tools to address issues such as illicit traffic in narcotics, disputes about resources, and human rights concerns. This is the route we need to take.
Security Council members continue to monitor the situation, with discussions expected to focus on regional stability, humanitarian concerns, and potential diplomatic responses. Whereas the United States defended its controversial operation in Venezuela at a UN Security Council meeting, with Ambassador Mike Olds asserting President Trump had given diplomacy a chance before resorting to force. He said the operation was preceded by multiple off-ramps offered to Maduro to avoid confrontation.
The United States will not waver in our actions to protect Americans from the scourge of narco-terrorism and seeks peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. I thank you, Mr. President. You can't turn Venezuela into the operating hub for Iran, for Hezbollah, for gangs, for Cuban intelligence agents, and other malign actors that control that country. You cannot continue to have the largest energy reserves in the world under the control of adversaries of the United States, under the control of illegitimate leaders, and not benefiting the people of Venezuela, and stolen by a handful of oligarchs inside of Venezuela.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said his government will shed no tears for the end of Maduro's regime. Neighboring Latin American countries, including Colombia, Cuba, and Brazil, have condemned the actions, as did Venezuela's long-term allies Russia and China. China said it was deeply shocked and strongly condemns the use of force against a sovereign country and its president. The capture of Maduro evokes previous eras when other leaders, such as Panama's former military leader Manuel Noriega and former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein, were seized by the US. But Saturday's US operation is unlike anything seen before. When US forces captured Panama's leader Manuel Noriega exactly 35 years ago, it was following a short war between the two countries. Later in 2003, Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was captured by US forces 9 months after the US-led invasion and occupation of Iraq started based on false intelligence of Baghdad possessing weapons of mass destruction. Like Noriega, Saddam had for years been a key Washington ally in his case during the years of the Iraq-Iran war in the 1980s that killed 1 million people. Venezuela, in the meantime, has announced a state of national emergency and denounces the military aggression. 63-year-old Maduro has served as the president of Venezuela from 2013. His administration oversaw an economic collapse characterized by hyperinflation and chronic shortages. His rule became best known for allegedly rigged elections, food shortages, and rights abuses, including harsh crackdowns on protests in 2014 and 2017. His government was also subject to aggressive sanctions by the US and other powers. Huge protests have erupted across Iran, with demonstrators marching in Tehran and other cities in the largest anti-clerical demonstrations in years. According to the US-based human rights activist news agency, at least 34 protesters, including 5 children and 8 security personnel, have been killed and more than 2,200 people arrested during these protests. Protesters could be heard in the footage calling for the overthrow of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and the return of Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of late former Shah, who had urged his supporters to take to the streets. The protests came not long after Reza Pahlavi, whose father was overthrown by the 1979 Islamic Revolution and lives in Washington, D.C., had called on Iranians to take to the streets and as a united front. The unrest has been sparked by anger over the collapse of the Iranian currency and has spread to more than 100 cities and towns across all 31 of Iran's provinces, according to human rights groups. The US-based human rights activist news agency has said at least 34 protesters, 5 of them children, and 8 security personnel have been killed, and that 2,270 other protesters have been arrested. Iran's state media, meanwhile, has downplayed the scale of the unrest. In some cases, they denied protests had taken place altogether, posting videos of empty streets. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian earlier called on security forces to exercise utmost restraint when handling peaceful protests. Khamenei, who has ultimate power in Iran, said on Saturday that authorities should speak with the protesters, but that rioters should be put in their place. The protests began on 28 December when shopkeepers took to the streets of Tehran to express their anger at another sharp fall in the value of Iranian currency, the rial, against the US dollar on the open market.
The rial has sunk to a record low over the past year, and inflation has soared to 40%, as sanctions over Iran's nuclear program squeeze an economy also weakened by government mismanagement and corruption. The protests have been the most widespread since an uprising in 2022 sparked by the death in custody of Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman who was detained by morality police for allegedly not wearing her hijab properly.
US President Donald Trump has renewed his provocative push to annex Greenland, asserting the strategically located Arctic territory is essential for the US national security. Trump's such statement comes despite Denmark's Prime Minister urging him to stop the threats over the island's future. Donald Trump has again proposed annexing Greenland after Denmark's leader urged him to stop the threats over the island. Speaking to reporters, the US president said US needs Greenland from the standpoint of national security.
We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it.
Trump has repeatedly raised the prospect of semi-autonomous Danish territory becoming an annexed part of the US, citing its strategic location for defense purposes and mineral wealth. The Trump administration's recent move to appoint a special envoy to Greenland has also prompted anger in Denmark. The back and forth over the future of Greenland comes in the wake of a major military operation against Venezuela on Saturday, seizing its president Nicolas Maduro and his wife and removing them to New York. Greenland, which has a population of 57,000 people, has had extensive self-government since 1979, though defense and foreign policy remain in Danish hands. While most Greenlanders favor eventual independence from Denmark, opinion polls show overwhelming opposition to becoming the part of the US. A severe cold snap and winter storms have swept across Europe, with the UK and France among the hardest hit, causing at least 6 deaths. Heavy snowfall also has forced school and transport closures, flight cancellations and icy roads as the Arctic outbreak continues to affect the northern Europe.
A powerful cold snap and winter storm dubbed Storm Goretti has gripped much of Europe, bringing heavy snow, fierce winds, freezing temperatures and widespread disruption across the UK, France and other countries. Storm Goretti has prompted rare red and amber weather warnings in parts of the UK, with winds reaching up to 99 miles per hour, snow accumulations of up to 30 centimeters, and dangerous conditions forcing school closures and major travel cancellations. Hundreds of thousands of homes have lost power in France and Britain as authorities urge people to stay off the roads and prepare for treacherous conditions. Across Western Europe, airports, rail networks and roadways have been severely disrupted by ice and snow, with hundreds of flights cancelled and train services running on restricted schedules. Major transport hubs, including regional UK airports, have faced delays, while icy roads and fallen trees have contributed to accidents and travel chaos. Harsh winter conditions continue to affect daily life, and emergency services remain stretched. Meteorological agencies warn that the Arctic outbreak driving the cold spell may persist in the coming days, prolonging hazardous conditions and sustaining travel disruption across the continent.
While much of Europe is battling a bitter cold snap, the southern hemisphere is confronting the opposite extreme. A scorching heat wave in Australia is pushing temperatures above the 40 degrees Celsius and sparking catastrophic bushfire conditions that threaten human settlements while forcing the evacuations.
A severe heat wave is scorching southeastern Australia, with temperatures regularly climbing above 40 degrees Celsius and triggering catastrophic bushfire conditions that are threatening towns, destroying homes, and forcing mass evacuations. Fire authorities have declared catastrophic fire danger ratings, the highest possible, as dozens of out-of-control blazes burn across Victoria and neighbouring states, driven by extreme heat, strong winds, and dry lightning. In some of the most dangerous fire weather since the devastating 2019-2022 Black Summer season. Dozens of rural communities have been urged to evacuate immediately, with major highways closed and thousands of homes without power, while emergency services warn that any fires igniting under the current conditions could spread rapidly and become uncontrollable. Emergency services have issued total fire bans, school closures, and evacuation alerts, urging residents to leave high-risk areas immediately and seek shelter, while strong wind gusts are expected to complicate containment efforts and keep the region on edge through the peak of the heat wave. Climate scientists also point to long-term trends of rising temperatures and more frequent, intense heat waves linked to climate change, which are increasing the length and severity of Australia's fire seasons and making extreme conditions more likely. Fire authorities have declared catastrophic fire danger ratings, the highest possible, as dozens of out-of-control blazes burn across Victoria and neighbouring states, driven by extreme heat, strong winds and dry lightning, in some of the most dangerous fire weather since the devastating 2019-2020 Black Summer season.
China's People's Liberation Army conducted New Year combat-oriented training involving the Army, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force and Armed Police to strengthen battlefield readiness. The exercises featured integrated joint drills, air and naval defense operations and realistic combat scenarios designed to sharpen troops' adaptability and emergency response capabilities. China's People's Liberation Army PLA has kicked off New Year military training across all units, with forces from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force and Armed Police conducting intensive combat-oriented exercises to boost battlefield readiness. On the first training day, a brigade of the Army's 79th Group conducted integrated combat-oriented training at an outdoor training ground. The troops continuously executed over 10 individual and squad training subjects from the training outline, focusing on enhancing their battlefield adaptability and response capabilities. Naval forces were also active. They also conducted fleet air defense exercises in coordination with naval aviation, testing the troops' ability to transition from training to combat. The Air Force, involving multiple branches such as aviation, surface-to-air missile and radar troops, conducted joint training exercises with multiple aircraft types in realistic battlefield ambience to hone their combat skills. By fully integrating real combat scenarios and setting up complex emergency situations, the training aimed to enhance the officers' and soldiers' emergency response capabilities in extreme ambience. Amid the ruins of war-damaged buildings in Gaza City, the Faculty of Medicine has graduated 230 students for the first time in more than 2 years, holding a defiant Phoenix Badge ceremony that symbolized resilience, rebirth, and commitment to serving a community scarred by conflict. The Faculty of Medicine in the Gaza Strip held a graduation ceremony for 230 male and female students following an interruption of more than 2 years caused by the aggression on the Strip. Titled the Phoenix Badge, the ceremony took place at the Al-Sifa Medical Complex in Gaza City. Held amid the rubble of departments destroyed by the occupation's machinery during the war, the event served as a message of defiance and resilience from the organizers. Graduates put on their gowns among the damaged buildings, symbolizing rebirth from devastation. Families attended the ceremony with a mix of pride and sorrow, reflecting the heavy toll of the conflict. Speeches emphasized the ethical duty of young doctors to serve their community in the time of crisis. Despite limited resources and ongoing challenges, the graduates promised to continue their medical mission. Thousands of worshippers and visitors gathered in Benin's scared Kapase forest to mark the start of Vodun Days. The celebration is a 3-day annual event honoring Benin's spiritual and cultural heritage rooted in the ancient animist religion of Vodun.
Thousands of worshippers and visitors gathered in Benin's sacred Kapase forest to mark the start of Vodun Days. The celebration, a 3-day annual event honoring Benin's spiritual and cultural heritage rooted in the ancient animist religion of Vodun. Beninese President Patrice Talon attended ceremonies in the sacred Kapase forest in Ouida on the first day of the Vodun Day celebrations, a 3-day annual event honoring Benin's spiritual and cultural heritage. Vodun is an animist religion rooted in the forces of nature and the connection with ancestors. The event evolved from the National Vodun Festival, first celebrated officially in 1993 and was rebranded as Vodun Days to broaden its scope and international appeal while showcasing the richness of Vodun arts, culture, and spirituality to a global audience. Held over several days, it features ritual processions, traditional dances, open-air concerts, cultural exhibitions, local crafts, and food stalls. Vodun itself is deeply intertwined with Benin's cultural heritage. Recognized as an official religion in the country since 1996, it has influenced spiritual practices throughout the African diaspora, including Haitian Vodou and Louisiana Voodoo, as enslaved people carried their beliefs across the Atlantic during the slave trade.
Great white sharks in the Mediterranean are at risk of disappearing, researchers warn, as illegal fishing and trade continue to drive the critically endangered species towards extinction despite international protections. Great white sharks in the Mediterranean Sea are in danger of disappearing, with illegal fishing contributing to their decline. This is according to research by US scientists working in partnership with UK charity Blue Marine Foundation. They say some of the threatened species, including great white sharks, are being sold in North African fish markets. Great whites are one of more than 20 Mediterranean shark species protected under international law, meaning it is illegal to fish for them or to sell them. By monitoring fishing ports on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa, however, researchers discovered that at least 40 great white sharks have been killed there in 2025 alone. The Mediterranean white shark population is now classified as critically endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. The EU and 23 nations around the Mediterranean have signed an agreement which states that those species cannot be retained on board, transshipped, landed, transferred, sold or displayed or offered for sale. Two humanoid robots squared off in a high-tech bout at the Ultimate Fighting Robot event on the sidelines of the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, exchanging stumbles, swings, and kicks before an enthusiastic crowd at the BattleBots arena.
At the Consumer Electronics Show CES in Las Vegas, humanoid robots took center stage in a futuristic fighting spectacle as two child-sized machines squared off in the Ultimate Fighting Robots UFB competition at the BattleBots arena. Unlike traditional robot combat events featuring wheeled or weaponized machines, the UFB match showcased bipedal robots mirroring the movements of human pilots who used cameras and motion-sensing controllers to send punches, kicks, and blocks in real time, with a human referee addressing the machines much like flesh and blood fighters. Spectators, many of them CES attendees, cheered and laughed as the humanoids stumbled, traded blows, and demonstrated advances in mobility and balance, part entertainment, part a research platform for embodied AI. Organizers and competitors alike touted the event as the sport of the future, hoping it will attract fans by blending the thrill of combat with cutting-edge robotics and human-machine interaction, and serve as a test bed for technologies that could eventually be used in disaster response or real-world robotics applications.
Gogol Cave in Turkey's Zonguldak province, the country's 10th largest, attracts visitors with its stunning features and ancient coral fossils. Carefully designed paths and viewing terraces allow safe exploration while preserving the cave's geological heritage. Gogol Cave, Turkey's geological heritage, draws attention with its natural wonders. Located in the northern province of Zonguldak, Gogol Cave continues to fascinate visitors with its remarkable natural formations and geological significance. Ranked as the 10th largest cave in Turkey, the cave stretches a total of 3,350 meters, including its branches, offering a unique journey into a world shaped over millions of years. The cave stands out as one of the most important elements of the region's geological heritage. At every step, visitors encounter different formations and ancient coral fossils that date back millions of years. The cave has become a major attraction for both domestic and international visitors. Carefully designed walking paths, glass ridges, and viewing terraces allow guests to explore the cave comfortably while preserving its natural structure. South Africa's Cape Town hosted the annual Cape Minstrels Parade, where troops in bright satin costumes danced through the city to brass band music carrying traditional umbrellas and walking sticks. The event, rooted in 19th century slave and freed communities' cultural expressions, remains a major celebration of local heritage, attracting large crowds and boosting tourism. Thousands of spectators lined the streets of South Africa's Cape Town on Monday to watch the city's annual Cape, a long-standing cultural event rooted in the city's history of slavery. Large troops of minstrels marched through the city center wearing bright satin costumes, dancing to the accompaniment of brass bands. Many performers carried umbrellas and walking sticks, which are traditional elements of the parade. The event, also known as the Kaapse Club, tracks its origins to the 19th century when enslaved and freed people in Cape Town used music and performance as a form of cultural expression. Today, the parade remains a significant celebration for the city's communities. City authorities say security and traffic measures were put in place along the parade route to ensure the safety of performers and spectators. The parade is held annually during the New Year period and continues to attract large crowds of local residents and visitors, contributing to Cape Town's cultural calendar and tourism appeal. Well, that was a spectacular celebration of culture, unity, and heritage, and this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next time with a new episode. Do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com and our social media handles as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Former Energy Minister Kulman Gising moves forward after unity with RSP takes charge as chair of Ujalo Nepal Party. Nepali Congress prepares for special general convention amid internal uncertainty. Overseas committees call for unity and discipline. Preparations underway for parliamentary elections in Nepal. Stakeholders raise concerns over cost, security and electoral reforms. Security printing press in Nepal's Kavre falls behind target. Only 9,000 driving licenses printed in 2 months. Anti-government protests grip Iran with reported deaths of at least 50 protesters. Khamenei insists the government will not back down. And host Morocco enters the semi-finals of AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon. Hello there, I'm Smithu Gising Tamang and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. The news in detail. Kulman Gising, who resigned as Minister for Energy a few days ago, has been appointed as the chairman of Ujalo Nepal Party, which was formed earlier this year ahead of the parliamentary elections. This comes after Gising's planned unity with the Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP collapsed. Speaking at a press conference about the breakdown of the agreement with RSP, Gising stated that the party unilaterally broke the agreement during negotiations.
आज अन्तिम चरणमा मैले सहमतिको लागि एउटा प्रस्ताव पनि गरेको थिएँ। म एउटा साधारण सदस्य भएर रासोपाको एउटा साधारण सदस्य भएर बस्छु। हाम्रा साथीहरू केन्द्रीय समितिका साथीहरूलाई केही एडजस्टमेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ, त्यसरी अगाडि बढौँ पनि भनेको थिएँ र यो लामो समयसम्म एउटा इन्गेज गरेर बस्नु पर्दाखेरि साँच्चीकै उज्यालो नेपाल पार्टीले ठुलो क्षति ब्याउनु परेको छ र अन्तिममा आएर आजको दिनमा आएर अन्तिम दिनमा आएर एकतर्फी रूपमा उहाँहरूले यो सहमति भङ्ग भएको घोषणा गरिदिनु भयो। हामीले घोषणा गरेको थिएनौँ। आज हामी अन्तिम समयमा टुङ्ग्यौँ, अगाडि बढौँ भन्ने नै थियौँ र एकतर्फी रूपमा उहाँहरूले सहमति भङ्ग भएको मलाई जानकारी गर्नुभयो र मिडियामा त्यही हिसाबले आयो।
Gising was said to become vice chairman of RSP following a planned merger with the party and Kathmandu Metropolitan City Mayor Balendra Shah. Facing criticism for joining party politics while in government and citing internal issues, Gising resigned as minister and will now lead Ujalo Nepal as its chairman. Nepali Congress is set to inaugurate its special convention tomorrow amid ongoing internal disagreements within the party. Preparations of the venue, including decorations and final arrangements, are being completed. However, it remains unclear who will officially open the convention. Party members and attendees are uncertain whether the convention will lead to significant changes in the party's leadership or policies. Meanwhile, Nepali Congress's public relations committees from 17 countries, including India, the UK, the USA and Japan, have issued a joint appeal emphasizing the importance of party unity and continuity. They urge the leadership to continue the process of the 15th regular convention in accordance with party rules. The committees stress the need for greater organization, unity, mutual respect and goodwill among party members. Leaders, workers and well-wishers were called upon to act responsibly and maintain discipline while participating in the event. Nepal is entering a new phase of election preparations amid growing concerns about the credibility, cost and management of the electoral process. Key challenges include election-related security, prompting calls for stronger cooperation among state agencies, political parties and oversight bodies. At a Kathmandu discussion organized by Democracy and Election Concern Nepal, former Chief Election Commissioner Nilkanto Prethi emphasized the need to collectively address security and management issues, control unnecessary election expenses, and ensure transparency. The program also featured active participation from Gen Z youth, who raised concerns about youth engagement, the pre-election silence period, and the use of modern technology in elections. We will delve more on this in our cover story segment later in the bulletin. Nepal's security printing press in central Kavre has printed only about 9,000 driving licenses in 2 months. far behind its target of 1.2 million in 6 months, as printing had stalled after equipment was damaged during the Gen Z protests in early September last year. The printing resumed later on November 7. However, nearly 3 million licenses remain pending, including new applications and renewals. The centre now plans to print the remaining 1.191 million smart licenses within 2 months by producing 10,000 licenses daily from mid-January, while also preparing to print other official documents. We bring more regarding this later in the bulletin in our Issue of the Day segment. Hospitals in Tehran are struggling to cope with the surge of injuries as nationwide protests continue in Iran. Anti-government protests have taken place in dozens of cities, with 2 human rights groups reporting at least 50 protesters have been killed. International leaders called for the right to peaceful protests to be protected. Iran, meanwhile, sent a letter to the UN Security Council blaming the United States for turning the protests into violent, subversive acts and widespread vandalism. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei also insisted that the Islamic Republic will not back down in the face of protesters in a speech broadcast on state TV. Khamenei also says US President Donald Trump's hands are stained with the blood of more than 1,000 Iranians, in apparent reference to Israel's June war against the Islamic Republic, which the US supported and joined with strikes of its own. Host Morocco booked its place in the semi-finals of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon in Rabat. A goal in each half, scored by Brahim Diaz and Ismail Saibari, was enough to see off their opponents, who rarely threatened. Played in a febrile atmosphere reminiscent of those produced by North African fans of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, Walid Regragui's side never looked in any real danger during an ill-tempered encounter. Having now matched its historic run to the semi-finals in Qatar, Morocco is 2 wins away from claiming the country's first continental crown since 1976. Morocco is now unbeaten in 25 matches, a run stretching back to their last 16 exit at the 2023 edition of the finals, and are into the last 4 and an AFCON for the first time since 2004, when they went on to lose against Tunisia in the final. The Atlas Lions will have a huge home advantage again when it returns to the stadium on Wednesday to play the winners of Saturday's quarter-final between Algeria and Nigeria. As Nepal gears up for the House of Representatives election on March 5, unique challenges are emerging across the country, from Himalayan villages where voters must relocate temporarily to districts where registered voters now outnumber the population. Questions about electoral management, voter registration and security are shaping discussions nationwide. Our cover story today takes a closer look at these issues and what they mean for Nepal's democracy. You're watching NTV World News Hour, and now we're turning to our cover story of the day. Voters from Changru and Tinker in Nepal's far western district of Dachula will cast their votes in Kalanga in the upcoming House of Representatives elections scheduled for March 5. Chief District Officer Anil Paudel said residents of both villages have temporarily migrated to Kalanga, prompting the concerned authorities to establish polling centres within the district headquarters for them. During winter, locals moved to Kalanga to escape the extreme cold in Changru and Tinker. They stay here for 6 months. In the local level elections held in 2079 Bikram Sambat, that is 2022, polling stations have been set up in Changru and Tinker. In the 2022 local, province and HOR elections, there were 383 voters from Changru and 234 from Tinker. For the upcoming HOR elections on March 5, a total of 112 polling stations and 143 polling centres have been set up across the district. For the upcoming election, 2,166 new voters have been added compared to the previous elections. While voters in Dachula are relocating for practical reasons, other districts like Dolka reveal an unexpected twist, which is that voters now exceed the official population counts, raising fresh questions about electoral accuracy. In 3 municipalities of Nepal's central eastern district of Dolka, the number of voters is higher than the population recorded in 2021 census. In the same district, it was found that the population of 3 municipalities is less than the number of people who have reached eligible age to vote. According to the census, Soiling Rural Municipality had a population of 17,896, while the number of voters reached 20,697. Similarly, Melung Rural Municipality had a population of 15,893. However, there were 19,187 registered voters. In Baiteshwar Rural Municipality, the population was also 17,896, whereas the number of voters was 18,423. Officials suggested that the higher number of voters compared to the population may be due to enumerators not counting accurately during the census or because the census was based on the place of residence. The election office of Dolka says the number of voters, including those who will reach 20 years by March 4, 2026, stands at 170,321. These discrepancies and logistical challenges highlight the broader concerns being discussed by election experts as Nepal prepares to ensure that the upcoming polls are peaceful, inclusive and credible. Election-related security continue to be key challenges, prompting calls for stronger cooperation among state agencies, political parties and oversight bodies. Speaking at a discussion titled Challenges, Opportunities and Reforms in the Electoral System, organized in Kathmandu by Democracy and Election Concern Nepal, former Chief Election Commissioner Neelkantha Uprethi said recurring security and management challenges during elections must be collectively addressed to ensure successful voting.
हामीहरूले चाहिँ स्ट्रङली चाहिँ के भन्नु भने एउटा सरकार बनेको अहिलेको सरकार के कारणले बनेको जुन काम गर्नको लागि यो सरकार बनेको त्यही काम यो सरकारले गर्न नसकेपछि त्यो सरकारको के औचित्य भन्न खोजेको के भने अब यो निर्वाचन प्रणालीको कुरा अलि ठुलो कुरा भयो संसदको आवश्यकता पर्यो संविधान संशोधनको कुरा भयो तर देश र विदेशमा भएका नेपालीहरूलाई मताधिकार दिनको लागि प्रविधि संसारमा उपलब्ध छ पैसा चाहिँ अवश्य पनि प्राप्त हुन्छ कहीँ न कहीँबाट आउन सक्छ डेमोक्रेसीमा पैसा राख्नेहरू अहिले पनि नेपालमा छन् अरू पनि बाहिरका पनि आउँछन् हामी चाहिँ त्यसलाई त्यो टेक्नोलोजी ल्याएर निर्वाचन गराउँ.
And with that, we wrap up our cover story of the day. Moving on, the Communist Party of Nepal Unified Marxist-Leninist CPN-UML held its second meeting of its Central Committee today. The meeting reiterated its readiness for upcoming elections and stressed the need for a fair, peaceful and fear-free environment. Party chair emphasized that the CPN-UML will participate in elections without hesitation and that the government must ensure an environment conducive to the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5.
पुराना दलसे के लोकतन्त्र हरियाछ भन्ने स्पष्ट सन्देश यसले नेकपा एमाले लोकतन्त्रका लागि अग्रपङ्क्तिमा उभिएर बलियो स्तरमा पनि हो भने दुर्गामी सन्देश लोकतन्त्र गराउने शक्तिशाली नेकपा एमालेको पुनर्पुष्टि महाधिवेशनको इतिहास।
Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP held an emergency secretariat meeting today to discuss recent developments regarding its political alliances. The meeting, conducted virtually, was chaired by party president Rabi Lamichhane, who briefed members on the breakdown of the agreement with former Energy Minister Kulman Kising. According to party leaders, Lamichhane explained that the agreement was terminated after demands emerged that differed from the original terms. Party officials also discussed matters related to party unity and coordination, as well as deliberations over the proportional representation list submitted to the Election Commission following the exit of Ujjalo Nepal Party. From the streets of Kathmandu to the highways of Pokhara, Nepal's transport sector is facing a mix of challenges and initiatives. Traffic awareness campaigns, infrastructure delays, and administrative bottlenecks in driving license issuance are all shaping how people move safely across the country. We take a closer look at these developments and what they mean for daily commuters and travelers alike in our issue of the day. Welcome back. Now let's move on to our issue today. Traffic Week and the 2082 Special Accident Prevention Campaign have kicked off in Kathmandu with a morning rally organized by the Kathmandu Valley Traffic Police Office. The rally, held under the slogan "Identifying a Responsible Citizen and Reducing Road Accidents is Everyone's Responsibility," aimed to raise public awareness about traffic safety and reduce road accidents. Officials from the Traffic Police, Nepal Police, Armed Police Force, Nepal Army, Kathmandu Metropolitan Police and Lalitpur and Bhaktapur Municipal Police participated in the event, along with representatives from other organizations. While authorities push for safer roads through awareness campaigns, infrastructure development remains another key factor in reducing accidents and easing traffic nationwide. Construction of the western section of the Pokhara-Muglin Road, part of the Prithvi Highway, has reached about 75% progress, with most bridges completed and asphalt paving underway. Delays caused by utility relocations and tree felling have extended the deadline to June 29, 2026, with the project-funded ATP loan. April Agising Lama, along with our local correspondent Parshuram Sharma, brings more. And beyond road construction, challenges in Nepal's transport sector are also being felt at the administrative level. The security printing press in Nepal's central district of Kaveri has printed only about 9,000 driving licenses in 2 months, despite being taxed by the government to produce 1.2 million licenses within 6 months. License printing had been halted after the Department of Transport Management's mass printer was damaged during the Gen Z protest last September. Printing resumed on November 7, according to the centre. The country's Department of Transport Management reported that around 3 million licenses are still pending, including newly passed applicants and renewals. The centre, however, aims to print the remaining 1,191,000 smart cards within the next 2 months and plans to produce 10,000 smart licenses daily starting from mid-January. In addition to driving licenses, the centre is preparing to print postage stamps, citizenship certificates, internal revenue stickers, land documents and visa stickers. The facility was established 5 years ago using infrastructure originally built for an unused IT park. And that brings us to the end of today's issue of the day. Now the remaining updates. Buranilkantha municipality, located on the northern edge of Nepal's capital Kathmandu, has organized the Buranilkantha Street Food Festival 2082 to promote a Nepali traditional cuisine and local tourism. The festival, which began on Friday, brings together a wide range of traditional snacks, village-produced food items and ready-made meals under one venue. Organizers say visitors can enjoy classic Nepali dishes, including popular Newari snacks, along with cultural performances showcasing local heritage. The event features around 60 stalls and has drawn large crowds of food lovers from Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The festival will conclude tomorrow with steady footfall continuing through the weekend. Municipal officials say the initiative aims to introduce both domestic and international tourists to Buranilkantha's culinary culture and its nearby religious and natural attractions. The indigenous Tharu community across the Tarai regions of Nepal are welcoming Maghi, their biggest festival. From the bustling villages of western Nepal to the heart of Tharu homes, the air is alive with music, dance and festive delicacies as the community prepares for Maghi, known as New Year. Rojina Rai, along with our local correspondent Nabi Nepali, brings more in the story.
In the villages of Western Nepal, the air is filled with excitement as the Tharu community prepares for Maghi, known as their New Year. The festival marks the beginning of the Tharu Sambat 2649. From Bake, Kailali, Kanchanpur, Bardea and Dang, villages are alive with the sights and sounds of fairs, music and dance, signaling that the festive season has arrived. Courtyards are swept clean, new clothes are laid out, and ingredients for traditional dishes are carefully gathered. Dhikri, khongi, fish, pork and homemade liquors are being prepared, filling homes with aromas of celebration. 15 days before the festival, the preparations already begin, reflecting the importance of the special time in the Tharu calendar. Villages echo with the rhythm of Maghota, Dammar and Magar songs, while folk dances bring the streets and community centers to life. These affairs are more than entertainment, food and festivities. They are a way for Tharu people to preserve and celebrate their unique culture, passing tradition from one generation to the next.
यो तरिकाले हामी खेती गरेर यस्तो गर्छौं हामी हाम्रो ढकिया पहिचान हो त्यो चीजहरु यस्तो यस्तो हुन्छ भनेर ती आउने पिढीहरुलाई देखाउनु पर्छ र सिकाउनु बनाउन लगाउनु पर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ है मलाई.
It is a time for reflection and planning. Families review the past year, organize household affairs and the community comes together to elect the village leader, Badghar Mahatwa, ensuring that traditions and governance go hand in hand. As the sun rises over the western Tarai, the celebration of Maghi paints a vivid picture of joy, culture and unity. A festival that is both a new year and a testament to the enduring spirit of the Tharu community. Tharu culture in Nepal is as significant as the rich, distinct heritage of Nepal's indigenous group, known for its deep connection to nature and vibrant festivals. They are considered one of Nepal's oldest ethnic groups, lived in the Tarai region over the centuries. Rojina Rai with local correspondent Nabin Nepali, Kohalpur, Nepal.
In this context, we asked local residents what efforts should be made to preserve the heritage of the indigenous Tharu community. Let's have a look into what they said in our Public Pulse segment.
Coming generation मा चाहिँ awareness create गरेर त्यहाँ ठाउँ ठाउँमा awareness create गर्यो भने यसमा बचाउन सकिन्छ.
पहिला जुन तरिकाले पहिला सबको जानकारी इन्फर्मेसन लेखन करत आजकल उ चाहिँ अलि कम हो रहल तर पुरै हराइल चाहिँ नि हो तर उ चाहिँ अनुसरण चाहिँ गर्दै बात मतलब आगक मनै चाहिँ सिखैती बात ओही अनुसार चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ लिए खासी जस्तै हाम्रो यहाँ देखती बाते हाम्रो ई ड्रेस त नि लगाइ नि त ई माग आइल त हाम्रो सब कोही ड्रेस लखागा आइती ई चाहिँ हामा आगक मनै हुक्रा हामा अग्रक झुग्रा हुक्रा सिखाइ त ओही अनुसार चाहिँ हाम्रो फेरि सिक्ती बाते.
यो संस्कृतिमा के छ भनेपछि अब अहिलेको हाम्रो के रे भक्करको छोराछोरी नातिपनातीहरूले चाहिँ यो चीज चाहिँ एकदम छोरे जस्तै छ है. अब यो नछोड्नको लागि हामी बुढापाका मान्छे नै एकदम छोरीछोरीलाई भन्नु पनि पर्छ र छोरीछोराहरू पनि अगाडि जानको लागि उनीहरू पनि धैर्यता राख्नुपर्छ के एउटा।
अहिले हाम्रो यो पहिरन भयो अनि भाषाहरू भयो अनि नाचगान सबै पहिलाको नाच एकदम अर्गानिक राम्रो थियो भने अहिले धेरै फरक भइराखेको छ। अनि डान्सर जस्तै गर्ने, डेगमा नाच्ने, पहिला हामी आफै मादल बजाउने, आफै गीत गाउने, आफै गर्थ्यौँ भने अहिले डेगमा गीत गाउने, डेगमा मादल बजाउने। मान्छे त मादल बजाउनै जान्दैनन्, अहिले त गीत गाउन पनि जान्दैनन्। त्यही भएर हामी यो संस्कृति जगाउनको लागि यसरी प्रत्येक साल माघी मनाउने र आफ्नो संस्कृति बचाउने, आफ्नो सबै भाषाहरू, आफ्नो पहिरनदेखि लिएर खानपिनदेखि लिएर सबै बचाउने भनेर हामी यसरी माघीको महोत्सव राख्छौँ।
अब सबैले मिल्नु पर्यो, आफ्नो ठाउँ समाजका मान्छे सबै वर्गले मिलाएर राख्छन्। एक हिसाबले सबै मिलेरै जानु पर्यो, वर्गको अनुमति हिसाबमै त्यो अनुसार नै चल्नु पर्यो। आफूले त्यो सबैले मिल्नु पर्यो।
Coming back to the road construction project in the western part of Nepal. While authorities push for safer roads through awareness campaigns, infrastructure development remains another key factor in reducing accidents and easing traffic nationwide. Construction of the western section of the Pokhara-Muglin Road, part of the Prithvi Highway, has reached about 75% progress, with most bridges completed and asphalt paving underway. Delays caused by utility relocations and tree felling have extended the deadline to June 29, 2026, with the project funded by ADB loan. April Lagisinglama, along with our local correspondent Parshuram Sharma, brings more.
Construction work on the western section Pokhara-Jamune of the nationally prioritized Pokhara-Muglin Road project has achieved approximately 75% physical progress to date. The Pokhara-Muglin section is part of the Prithvi Highway, which connects Pokhara, Nepal's tourism capital, with the federal capital, Kathmandu. Prolonged construction delays had caused significant inconvenience to local residents and travelers due to dust and muddy road conditions. However, with the recent progress, travel conditions have begun to improve. The construction contract for the 38.88 kilometer western section was signed on 16th of May 2021 and physical work began on 28th of August 2021. Of the 12 bridges planned in this section, 11 have already been completed. Despite two previous deadline extensions, the project could not be completed on time. Following a request from the contractor, the Department of Roads has now extended the completion deadline until June 29, 2026.
मात्रै बाँकी छ चालिन हाम्रो अरु 37.5 किलोमिटर हाम्रो चालिन पुरै सकिसकेको छ हैन त्यसमा पनि दोस्रो तहको कालोपत्रे पनि हाम्रो करिब 35 किलोमिटर चाहिँ हाम्रो दोस्रो तहको कालोपत्रे चालिन त लगभग सकिसकेको अवस्थै हो 1 किलोमिटर बाँकी विजयपुर सकेपछि असारको अबको जनवरीको लास्ट सम्म चाहिँ हाम्रो चालिन सकिन्छ हैन 6 महिना भित्रमा चाहिँ सम्पूर्ण काम सक्ने गरी र पब्लिक युटिलिटीहरु पनि रिलोकेट गर्ने गरी हामी लागिरहेका छौं अबको 83 को असार 15 सम्म चाहिँ
The project office reported that the first layer of asphalt paving has been completed on 37 kilometers, while the second asphalt layer has been completed on nearly 34 kilometers. Additional works, including road markings, thermoplastic paint application, and installation of road safety barriers, have also begun from the Jamune section. The 81-kilometer long road expansion project is being implemented with a concessional loan of 13.61 billion Nepali rupees, which is equivalent to $94.3 million from the Asian Development Bank. The project aims to upgrade the existing 2-lane road between Pokhara and Abu Khaireni into a modern 4-lane highway. Construction of the western section is being carried out by the Chinese construction company Yanhui Kaiyuan Highway and Bridge Construction.
As we move towards our international updates, let's quickly recap the main stories of the day. Former Energy Minister Kulman Gising moves forward after unity with Rashtriya Swatantra Party, takes charge as chair of Ujjalo Nepal Party. Nepali Congress prepares for special general convention amid internal uncertainty. Overseas committees call for unity and discipline. Preparations underway for parliamentary elections in Nepal. Stakeholders raise concerns over cost, security and electoral reforms. Security printing press in Nepal's Kavri falls behind target. Only 9,000 driving licenses printed in 2 months. Anti-government protests grip Iran, where the reported deaths of at least 50 protesters. Khamenei insists the government will not back down. And host Morocco enters the semi-finals of AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon. The Syrian army has announced that it will suspend all military operations in Aleppo's Sheikh Maqsoud district and expel Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces SDF fighters to Tabqa, according to the state news agency. At least 180,000 people have fled fighting in the city's Ashrafi and Sheikh Maqsoud neighborhoods since clashes resumed. The army reported that SDF fighters killed at least 3 Syrian soldiers, while the SDF accused government-aligned factions of artillery shelling that killed a 10-year-old girl in Deir Hafer, east of Aleppo. Since violence erupted on Tuesday, at least 22 people, including civilians, have been killed. Venezuela is set to hold talks on Saturday with U.S. envoys in Caracas on restoring diplomatic ties, days after U.S. forces deposed Nicolas Maduro as its president. Venezuela said on Friday it had launched discussions with U.S. diplomats in the capital, the latest sign of cooperation following the leftist leader's capture and U.S. President Donald Trump's claim to be in charge of the South American country. As per reports, the government of interim President Delcy Rodriguez has decided to initiate an exploratory diplomatic process with the government of the United States of America aimed at reestablishing diplomatic missions in both countries. Venezuela said it would be reciprocating by sending a delegation to Washington. The EU has reached a free trade agreement with South American countries 25 years after talks began and despite opposition from farmers in several European countries. The deal with the Mercosur trading bloc, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay, will require the approval of the European Parliament within the next few months. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva hailed it as a historic day for multilateralism after the 4 South American countries put the final touches to the deal in Brussels. It comes against the backdrop of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on countries around the world and his recent military intervention in Venezuela. Tens of thousands of visitors gathered on the frozen Hwacheon River this week for the annual Mountain Trout Fishing Festival, one of South Korea's most popular winter events. The festival, which has been held for over 3 decades, allows participants to fish through holes drilled into the ice. Organizers reported that this year's event attracted over 50,000 visitors in the first few days, including families, tourists and fishing enthusiasts from across the country. In addition to fishing, the festival features a range of winter activities, including sledding, ice soccer and local food markets. Event organizers said the festival also boosts the local economy by supporting hotels, restaurants and transportation services. The Hwacheon Mountain Trout Festival runs through the end of January, drawing both domestic and international tourists to the Gangwon Province region each winter. Thousands of people from Benin and across the world converged on the coastal city of Ida this week for Vodun Days, a 3-day annual celebration highlighting the country's spiritual traditions and cultural heritage. The event, held each January, centers on Vodun, also known internationally as Voodoo, an animist belief system rooted in the forces of nature, ancestral worship and community rituals. Festivities included traditional dances, drumming ceremonies, spiritual rites and public processions led by Vodun priests and practitioners. Beninese authorities promoted the celebrations as part of efforts to strengthen cultural tourism and reclaim Vodun's image, which has often been misrepresented abroad. Vodun was officially recognized as a religion in Benin in 1996, and Vodun Days has since grown into one of the country's most prominent cultural events, attracting visitors, researchers and members of the African diaspora. Time again for a short break here. Business news coming up next. Stay with us.
At the White House, President Donald Trump told major oil executives that his administration is determined to reclaim what he described as taken from us. He outlined a long-term strategy to keep the nation under American control, emphasizing energy dominance as a central goal. Trump said discussions are underway on how U.S. companies can help rebuild Venezuela's struggling oil industry. He promised that millions of barrels of new production could flow to benefit the United States, the Venezuelan people, and the wider world. The president's remarks signal a push to expand American influence in global energy markets, while positioning Venezuela's vast reserves as a key asset in his plan. Cities across China are bustling with holiday shoppers as new consumption-boosting policies lift demand and confidence ahead of the Spring Festival. The 2026 Shopping in China and Spring Festival consumption season launched earlier this month, targeting goods, services, and diverse spending scenarios. In Xiamen, a former factory has been transformed into a shopping district with nearly 40 brands, drawing crowds and citizens and tourists. In Tianjin, a new market space combines cultural exhibitions, catering, laser, and nearly 100 performances, part of the 3-month consumption season featuring ice and snow activities. In Liaoyang, Liaoning Province, an 80-hectare indoor greenhouse garden offers flowers, local specialties, and Yanko dance shows, adding a new cultural tourism format. Meanwhile, Anhui Province is promoting new energy vehicles with vouchers and trade-in subsidies, reinforcing its national lead in auto production and exports. This year's Spring Festival begins February 17, ushering in the Year of the Horse. The United Nations says strong domestic demand and government investment will continue to drive India's economy. According to the World Economic Situation and Prospect 2026 report, India's growth is projected at 6.6% in 2026 and 6.7% in 2027, the highest among major economies worldwide. The UN notes that robust consumption and public investment will offset the impact of higher tariffs, while recent tax reforms and monetary easing are expected to further support activity. Globally, growth is forecast to remain subdued at 2.7% in 2026 and 2.9% in 2027, as geopolitical tensions, trade restrictions, and financial stress weigh on economies. Despite these challenges, the report highlights that strong domestic demand in emerging economies like India will play a crucial role in stabilizing regional and global growth. Sri Lanka is preparing to reassert its global trade presence with Sri Lanka Expo 2026, set for June 18 to 21st at the BMICH in Colombo. The event marks a comeback after a 14-year hiatus. Organized by the Export Development Board and the Ministry of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development, the exhibition will bring together 750 exporters and aims to attract 1,500 international buyers and investors. Sectors on display will range from textiles and gems to ICT and renewable energy, reflecting the country's diverse economic strengths. Officials say the expo supports Sri Lanka's strategic goals of boosting national exports to $36 billion by 2030. The 4-day program will feature B2B meetings, investor forums, and pavilions highlighting sustainability and innovation. International delegates will also receive incentives including complimentary accommodation and discounted airfare through Sri Lankan Airlines, reinforcing the nation's ambition to become a premier South Asian trade hub.
Now the sports update. Riding on the momentum of Nepal's growing love for cricket, Lamahe municipality of the Dang Valley in southwestern Nepal has launched an initiative to conserve its cricket ground. This has prospects to serve as a catalyst to establish itself as a sports hub in western Nepal. Vijeta Bandari, along with our local correspondent Dashrath Kimire, brings more on this.
Nepal recently wrapped up its second season of the Nepal Premier League, a professional T20 cricket league. The cricket craze that took over the country still has lasting impacts, resonating in various parts of Nepal. In the Lamahi municipality in the southwestern Dang Valley of Nepal, this cricket fervor has manifested as an initiative led by the youths and the community members to conserve the local cricket ground. This cricket ground has already hosted 2 national-level tournaments. Lamahi municipality has organized a large-scale cleanup campaign, giving priority to protecting the ground. As Lamahi cricket ground is considered to be on par with some of the country's well-known stadiums, people believe its conservation can contribute to the prosperity of the Dang Valley. Built within an 80-meter radius, the ground meets international standards. However, it has not received the care and maintenance it requires. When Lamahi Urban Development Committee was preparing its town planning project, it included the idea of a sports ground. Initially, a football ground was planned, but due to the growing popularity of cricket, it was later developed into a cricket stadium.
यो ग्राउन्डलाई चाहिँ परिवर्तन गर्नलाई हामी सबै यो नगरवासीदेखि लिएर दाङ जिल्लादेखि लिएर पर्दा सबैमा चाहिँ लागेर अगाडि बढ्नुपर्ने आवश्यक छ। यो चलायमान भयो भने प्रत्येक वर्ष थुप्रै अब राष्ट्रिय प्रतियोगिताहरू हुनेछन् भन्ने विषय दिन चाहन्छु।
The ground was constructed with financial investment from the Lamahi Urban Development Committee. Facilities such as commentary box and parapet have been built, and the pitch is also ready. Construction of the cricket ground began in the fiscal year of 2000-2001 AD. The local government has already decided to hand over the ground to the Cricket Association of Nepal, or CAN, and coordination between both sides will take place after completing the required procedures. The main achievement so far is the sense of ownership taken by the local government and the participation of the community in protecting the ground. For Lamahi municipality, the goal is not just to have a cricket ground, but to turn it into a lasting sporting hub for Western Nepal, one that gives young players opportunity, attracts national tournaments, and ensures that the momentum created by the recent cricket craze in Nepal does not fade away.
Qatari driver Nasser Al Attiyah secured victory in Stage 6 of the Dakar Rally on Friday, completing the 915-kilometer course and moving into the lead of the overall standings. The stage, one of the longest of this year's rally, tested drivers across challenging desert terrain, including dunes, rocky tracks and navigation-intensive sections. Al Attiyah's performance has strengthened his position in the hunt for another Dakar Rally title, adding to his previous victories in the event. Rivals continue to face difficult conditions, with mechanical issues and navigation errors affecting several competitors. Race organizers reported that all drivers successfully completed the stage, though several sustained minor delays due to terrain challenges. Al Attiyah now leads the general classification, with the remaining stages expected to be decisive in determining the overall winner of this year's rally. Now the weather update, first from Nepal and then across the world. Well, we're almost at the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a look at the reminder of our top stories once again. Former Energy Minister Kulman Gising moves forward after unity with Rashtriya Swatantra Party, takes charge as chair of Ujjalo Nepal Party. Nepali Congress prepares for special general convention amid internal uncertainty. Overseas committees call for unity and discipline. Preparations underway for parliamentary elections in Nepal. Stakeholders raise concerns over cost, security and electoral reforms. Security printing press in Nepal's Kavri falls behind target. Only 9,000 driving licenses printed in 2 months. Anti-government protests grip Iran with reported deaths of at least 50 protesters. Khamenei insists the government will not back down. And host Morocco enters the semi-finals of AFCON with a 2-0 win against Cameroon. And that's it for this edition of the NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website www.nepaltelevision.com. This is me, Thugising Tamang, signing off. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.